Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the Listenercast.
It's us.
My name is Whitney.
My name is Ryan.
And we're here to read part 1 of The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson.
Mm-hmm.
If you did not listen to our episode 0, you should go do that because we are a fun time. And we describe kind of the outline of what this podcast is going to be. But if not, here's a short recap. We're going to do every single part in each Stormlight Archives book to be caught up by the time that Stormlight 5 comes out at Dragonsteel this year.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Anyways, yeah, that's the plan. I think we're also going to try and do the novellas. I think we gave ourselves enough time, and they're novellas, so we'll probably just do those in one episode. But we'll get there when we get there, because the first novella is not till after Words of Radiance.
Yeah. But yeah, so we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun stuff to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we are just going to jump right into it. If you guys want to hear us yap a little bit more, we're going to do that at the end of the episode, but we don't want to be unbearable podcast people. So, yeah, like I said, if you want to hear us yap a little bit more just about our day-to-day lives and stuff, feel like you're hanging out with your friends, we're going to do that at the end. But yeah, if you guys are wanting to read along, we are doing part 1 now. So if you haven't finished part 1, maybe go do that and then come back to this. And the next episode is going to be part 2 of The Way of Kings.
Absolutely. So we're starting with the prologue.
Yes. And we did talk about the prelude in the last episode. That is something we did talk about as well, if anyone's interested.
Yeah. It's not like we skipped over. We covered that in episode 0. So prologue, To Kill. Whitney, I'm going to start it off with a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
How did you like this prologue?
I feel like initially when I first read this book for the first time, it was also kind of one of those not really making sense to me kind of things, especially as it gets into the chapter and the action starts happening with all the lashings and stuff. I was like we talked about in the prelude episode, where it's it's the typical start to a fantasy novel where it's okay, here's a bunch of names and a bunch of magic things that you don't know what they are yet. And you're like, this is cool, but I don't really know what's going on. That's about how I felt with this, because it gives you this prologue especially gives you so much as far as a bunch of different races that are going to be present in the book. And it immediately starts out being the Parshendi are about to break this oath that they just made. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know what any of that is. I don't know the oath. I don't know what the Parshendi are, who they are. They're talking about some king. And then this guy's like, yeah, my name is Truthless, and I'm from Shinovar. And I'm like, yeah, I know what that means. I looked at the map. Yep.
Whitney.
Yep. I love it though.
Okay, good.
All right. All right. So okay, I realized I didn't answer your question.
It's okay.
Just
No. You did. Yeah.
On a second and third read through, I appreciate it so much more. I appreciated it the first time, and I was like, yeah, especially the action scenes. That's I think one of the big draws for me when I initially started reading this book was the way the action was written and the fact that there was action. Yeah. And I thought it was cool. I just didn't know what it meant. But that's kind of what pulled me in, was I was like, well, I want to understand what's going on here. But as going through a reread, it's much more it hits you. You know?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. So the first time I read this prologue, I said, "Now this is gas. Now this is gas." The second time I read it, I was like, this might be the best opening to a book. Yeah. And I am so biased when I say that. I know it. I'm going to be the annoying fan really quick. This is probably my favorite opening to a book. I would say it's probably my favorite opening line. You know, opening lines are very important for books. That's like what's going to grip the reader and everything. This one has an awesome one. Zeth, son Villano, truthless of Shinovar, wore white on the day he was to kill a king. That's tough.
Yeah.
That is tough. Truthless of Shinovar. Don't know what that means. Son Villano, that's his name, I guess. Wore white on the day he was to kill a king. I understand that part.
Yeah.
That's so gripping because, I mean, as we will find out, and we already know. If you're listening to this and you haven't read the prologue, like, what are you doing? Anyway, he kills the king. He kills King Gavilar. I have a summary. Do you want me to like read the summary real quick? Should we do? Yeah, I wrote it's just very brief.
Yeah, you're way more prepared than I am.
I wrote a summary for every chapter. Are they all good? Probably not.
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right, so we see the assassin Zeth infiltrating the feast between the Alethi and Parshendi in an attempt to kill the Alethi king Gavilar. Zeth does so by using abilities that change the way gravity affects objects and people, which he calls lashings. Zeth also informs us that he was brought to do this job by the Parshendi themselves, and he has no say in the matter as he is truthless. After Zeth kills King Gavilar, he writes down King Gavilar's final words meant for his brother Dalinar in blood beside the king's corpse. Did I hit all like the big? Is that like all the big notes?
Yeah, you're talking about it. I just like get excited hearing it. I'm like, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of like, I guess, the big stuff that happens. I'm sure I missed like one or two other like major things, but we'll get there.
I mean, I feel like it's hard to summarize like the action scenes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If we go over every single little detail of every single like chapter,
we're gonna be here for like 5 hours.
And also, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
I mean, I do want to do that, but I don't want to do that right now.
If I was gonna do that, like at that point, just let me sit down and read the book to you.
Yeah, very true.
Like this is just my audiobook rendition of the now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Opening line. That rules. The rest of the prologue, it also rules. And we also learn a few things kind of about the world that we're in. Like, it automatically kind of tells us the dynamics of Alethi society between dark eyes and light eyes being the more higher class. And I guess you could say like royalty, because I mean, like all the royalty are going to be light eyes. Is there a cat behind me?
No.
What?
You'd be a light eyes.
Oh, I thought you were talking. Nova was behind me. Yes, I would be a light eyes, and you'd be a dirty, dirty dark eyes. Yeah, I didn't feel right saying that. I'm sorry.
That was basically a slur.
I don't think it's a slur. I just called you dirty.
I showered this morning with my dirty water.
Your dirty water. Oh yeah, we'll get into that later. You got some dirty water right now.
Yeah, stick around to the end to find out that I have no clean water. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll chat about it.
We'll talk about it. Anyways, we also learn what a shard blade is, what shard plate is.
Shard blade, shard plate.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that kind of when we get further along, everything. But like, I mean, those are pretty like major things, facets in the world and whatnot.
Going back to the first line where it says he's wearing white to kill a king. There was something that I marked here. Mm-hmm. This is when Zeth kind of removes himself from the initial like party, and he's like, all right, time to go find this king, time to kill him. And that's when he really starts talking about like what he's wearing and why. He let's see. Sorry?
You're talking about like why he's wearing white.
Yeah. So, he's saying he's truthless. He does as his master's demand. Mm-hmm. and that included wearing white. He kind of describes the outfit. White clothing for a killer was tradition among Parshendi. Even though he didn't ask, his masters had explained why. White to be bold, white to not blend into the night, white to give warning. For if you were going to assassinate a man, he was entitled to see you coming.
Yeah, and that I really, really like, because it gives a reason for why he's wearing white. And at the end of the day, we don't need a reason. But I think it's the fact that we did get that reason and everything. And it makes so much sense, like, if you think about that. And that's such an interesting, like, cultural thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting cultural thing, which is, like, that's a lot of why, like, a lot of Sanderson's writing is the world building. Yeah. It's, like, where he's even thought about, oh, well, this cultural thing of, like, well, if you're going to go assassinate somebody, you have to wear white.
Yeah.
And I get it. I respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that line, like, if you're going to assassinate a man, he's entitled to see you coming.
Yeah.
I like that. But it also makes sense because pretty much the way that Zeth is referred to throughout the entirety of this novel and beyond is the assassin in white.
Yeah.
So it's cool to know, like, why he was wearing white that day. That's something that I don't really think I picked up on my first two readings, where I really was like, I'm always just like, yeah, assassin in white, that's Zeth. Yeah. But, like, I didn't understand the cultural significance of it as far as the Parshendi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's dope. We also get introduced to spren. Like, I mean, like, obviously, like, they are such a major deal for the world and the series and everything. But, like, yeah, there's just kind of like a spirit for everything, which I hope I don't get wrong.
A spirit for everything?
That's also... I forget what religion has that in it, but it's an Eastern religion. That, like, the idea that everything has a spirit and whatnot, and they're kind of like very designated, like, spirits for certain things. Yeah. I know Japan has, like, a lot of that stuff and whatnot. Yeah. You see that a lot in Spirited Away.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what religion that is. But yeah, I mean, it's cool to see that.
You can definitely tell where he's pulling influence from in that regard. But yeah, because you see, like, music spren. You know, zip through the air around them, the tiny spirits taking the form of spinning translucent ribbons.
Yeah, and then, like, of course, as we get further on into the part, you see, like, the wind spren around Kaladin when he's, like, in the cart. I mean, I literally read a couple hours ago the part where Shallan is, like, drawing and she gets all, like, the creation spren. Oh yeah. So it's a very fun little touch that I like, because it's not, like, a necessary part of the world building, you know? Yeah. But it creates a more immersive environment.
It makes everything feel alive, because there are literally, like, living things all around you, like, almost at all times. Yeah. And they say, like, you just kind of choose to, because they live in that world, they just kind of, like, ignore them most of the time. So anyway, yeah. Let's see.
Something that I really liked in this, as we're moving through this, as Seth is going through the corridors, you know, we just talked about why he's wearing white. Once Seth finally, like, inhales Stormlight for the first time, and the guard sees him, he says, like, what are you? Are you spirit or man? And Seth says, what am I? Yep. And he says, oh yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Do you want to see my note right here, Whitney? Yeah. Do you want to read it? Just here. Do you want to read that to the crowd?
Too tough.
Too tough. That's too tough. That's too tough. Oh, yeah. No. That's awesome. Yeah. And it's just kind of goes to show, like, he tells him, like, I'm sorry. Because Seth does not want to do this.
He's doing it because he, like, is literally... He has to. He has to, yeah. He's forced into it.
Yeah. And I find that really interesting. And before I ask you this question that I've been dying to ask you, I will just mention one thing. This was also the first time we met Dalinar. Yeah. We ran into Dalinar, who's drunk. He's drunk. Passed out on a table. Passed out on a table, yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Anyways, because that is...
I mean, you see it come back up a lot, like, when he... Especially, like, in the later books... And probably this one as well. Yeah. Where he when he has, like, flashbacks, a lot of it he's, like, messed up in because of substances.
Yeah. And I'll bring up one more thing before I get to my very, very interesting question. I have a question for Whitney that I've been like wanting to ask her for like the past few days, but I've been saving it.
Holding it.
But before that Zeth runs into somebody else. Mm-hmm. A man with a long gray and black beard, slumped in the doorway, smiling foolishly. Though whether from wine or a weak mind, Zeth could not tell. "Have you seen me?" the man asked with a slurred speech. Do you know who that is? Huh?
Am I allowed to say this out loud on who I think it is?
We kind of want to keep it spoiler free, so let me just here. What? No peeking.
Nope. Oh.
Yeah. Yes, it's him. It's him. And we do not learn that it's him. This is not a spoiler. We do not learn that that's him until I think like Oathbringer, which is the third book.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay, you just kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody, that you don't get to hear the secrets.
Yeah, I mean, if you've already read it, you probably know.
Yeah.
But if you haven't read it, nuh-uh.
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 I was under the impression it was somebody else, but...
Yeah, and oddly, that someone else is not here.
Yeah, you'd think they would be present in the situation, but...
He had other things to do.
He had other things.
He always got stuff to do. Anyways, should I ask my question, Whitney? Or do you have something to say?
No, what's your next question?
No, I'll just let you. What you got? What else would you like to talk about? Maybe I'll save it.
Yeah, I just want to talk about a lot of things that I want to talk about as we are moving through this is the world building. Because I think that really is for me like what I think I said earlier, like what drew me into Sanderson initially. This is where we kind of find out about the shard blades a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says, the shard blade killed oddly. Though it it cut easily through stone, steel, or anything inanimate, the metal fuzzed when it touched living skin. Mm-hmm. It traveled through the guard's neck without leaving a mark, but once it did, the man's eyes smoked and burned. They blackened, shriveling up in his head, and he slumped forward dead. The shard blade did not cut living flesh. It severed the soul itself. Mm-hmm. And so this was something that I don't think I picked up on initially, was that, like, there's no physical wound, really. Like, it's just the eyes being burned out.
Yeah.
Because in my head this whole time, I'm like seeing them slicing each other with shard blades and everybody's getting all bloody and messed up, but it's just an empty corpse, essentially.
Yeah, because the eyes are the window to the soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Shallan talks about.
Yes, she does.
In a couple chapters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? I didn't pick up on that very reason until like... Probably literally when I just read this.
Yeah, that's what I was like I said earlier, I was reading this part earlier, and the whole thing is like, with the 10 essences, like eyes are related to, like skin's related to this, and eyes are related to like the windows of the soul or whatever. And I was like, like it all was like clicking in my head. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah. Let's see. After that, we get the cool scene where Zeth has stuck a guardsman to the ceiling, and then just kind of puts his spear and like sticks it to the ground using these lashings and whatnot. I don't know why I just did quotes, because they are lashings. Yeah, lashings. That's what he calls them. He just chooses to drop the guard on his own spear and everything. I was like, my only note was too cool. Too cool.
I like your notes. Too cool. Too tough.
Too tough. Dude, just like cool action scenes like that. I mean, it's just like, I mean, what do you say? Like, that's hard. That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we keep chugging along here, we start getting to, like we said, we've killed a bunch of these guys. And we get to this part where, Seth sees a group of soldiers rushing out, ushering a man in regal robes with his head ducked into another room. And a shard bearer comes out. And this is one of my like favorite. I'm gonna say it's about everything. I'm gonna say everything's my favorite because I just love this book. I thought this was like, especially my first time reading it, I remember thinking like how brilliant it was.
Yeah.
Because once like he gets to the point where Zeth is like, oh, well, where would you keep a king? Would you hide him away with a bunch of guards? Or would you put him right here in Shardblade?
Like the best armor with the best weapon. And Zeth knows that he's a great sword fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's kind of like once he like puts it together, the reader, like, obviously, like, there are many people smarter than us who picked up, like, on that immediately, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But once he says it, and you're just like, oh. Yeah, like, so, yeah, no, it's pretty brilliant, just that reveal and everything.
Because then you see Gavilar, like, running out because he's like, oh, well, if the king's not in there, like, or like in his quarters, and so Zeth starts like walking that direction, and the king's like trying to defend. Gavilar is trying to defend like the fake king, like trying to play it off as like, no, I'm trying to protect the king, when like Zeth
he's
really
the king
knows.
himself and everything. Yeah, shout out Princess Amidala. She did the same thing. Yeah. You ever seen the prequels?
For what? Star Wars?
Yeah.
No, I've never seen a single Star Wars movie.
That's okay. If you haven't watched them yet, I think you're good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Shouts out. Shouts out Star Wars. It's nothing personal. I've just never.
Actually, yeah. I'll. If you like Star Wars, I'm judging. I'm not. I used to be really into Star Wars and everything. I just like to poke fun. I just like to stir the pot up a little bit.
The pot.
Yeah. Anyways, back on topic. Okay, so he made Zeth makes a good point about a shard blade. Let's see. I'm gonna just kind of skip ahead. Of mankind's hard-won victory over the Voidbringers, but when weapons created to fight nightmares were turned against common soldiers, the lives of men became cheap things indeed. And I think that's like, yeah, these were weapons that, from what we can tell and infer, is like, were created to literally fight horrors and monsters and things that are not humans. And once they're all gone, you got to use them against your own people, I guess. And that's what is like scary, because it's just like, man, all that power. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So after, all this, we get a very cool fight scene between Gavilar and Zeth. Mm-hmm. They end up on the balcony. Mm-hmm. And it comes crashing down.
Yes.
And I really like the end of the prologue. Because the king is thinking, like, he's like, I know why you're here. You can tell Thydakar, sorry, I can't read. You could tell Thydakar that he's too late. And Zeth is like, I don't know who that is.
But we know.
Yeah.
Wait, you know who Thydakar is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can't talk about that right now.
We can't talk about that right now. I don't think we can ever talk about who Thydakar is.
Yeah. So, then he's like, then who? Like, Rastaris, Sadeas? Like, I never thought. And then Seth's like, yeah, well, my masters are the Parshendi, if I could speak. And he's like, it doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. And then he hands him the spear with a mysterious type of light that is not common. That we don't find out what it is until like book 3.
Book 3 or like book 4. Like that's they start really talking about it in book 4.
Yeah. So, and he, gives him his last words, which says, "Tell my brother he must find the most important words a man can say." Mm-hmm. And what I really like about this is that Seth, says, let's see. Yeah, to Seth's people, a dying request was sacred. He took the king's hand, dipping it in the man's own blood, then used it to scrawl on the wood. Brother, you must find the most important words a man can say. And with that, he escaped into the night, leaving the king's shard blade. The blade Seth already carried was cursed enough. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I kind of really love that. especially because it shows that Zeth still wants to hold on to what is sacred to him, because he brings it up earlier, like walking on stone is sacred, like you should never walk on stone, which is like, obviously like that's a thing that's very probably Shin, and whatnot. And
well, that's what you kind of get a glimpse that it is something sacred to Shin, because when Shallan and Yasna later are talking about, Yasna's talking to Shallan about like taking her as her ward, and she's like, oh, I have you read this Shin philosopher?
Yeah. And
Shallan literally has a thought being like, the people that live in mud, like there's no way that they have philosophers.
Yeah, no, and it goes to show like we're in a world with a lot of different cultural differences and whatnot, and different countries, and from what we can gather, religions as well. But just the fact that Zeth wants to hold on to what he still believes in everything, but he cannot act upon everything, because like if Zeth had it his way, he wouldn't walk on stone, but because his masters are telling him like, you have to go do this, like it forces him to. But I think he's still taking every little chance that he can to still practice those beliefs and whatnot, which I really like.
I do as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I ask you my question?
Sure.
Is Zeth evil? And I'm going to ask you this in regards to not just the prologue, without spoiling anything. Can you give me an answer and maybe explain?
Oh. I don't.
It's a hard question.
Because at the end of the day, the way that I feel about Zeth is like, I don't think he's inherently evil, but I think he's been forced into doing a lot of evil. Can you pull up like the chart? Like
the alignment chart?
Yeah, pull up the alignment chart.
You want the... Oh, okay.
I don't know, because
Yeah.
Because I even think about... I can't talk about it because I don't want to do any spoilers.
No, I understand. That's why I told you it's a hard question. I will go ahead and let you know. I do think Zeth is evil.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
And I understand a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but like, I mean, that's kind of sort of the point of the question. You can take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand he has to do a lot of things that he does not want to do, and he's having to do horrible like atrocities like against his will, because that is what he holds true to his beliefs and whatnot. And so I get that, but without spoiling anything, later on in the series we get to points where Zeth does have more prerogative.
Yeah, he has like more self-control.
And like his own agenda and everything. And so you could probably say, like, if you told me, I don't think he's evil, I think he's like gray. He's in that gray area. I'm not going to disagree with you. You think Zeth is good? I would probably disagree with you on that one.
Yeah, I don't think he's good.
You don't think he's evil though? You think he's gray?
Yeah. And like, cause it's just for me, like I always have a soft spot for these like character tropes as well, where it's like, I have to do evil things, even though that's not what's in my heart. And like you said, like once he does kind of have some more, he doesn't have his own agenda, and he's not truthless, where he's not like being controlled by somebody. Like, I guess he is still not talking about the logistics of it. Regardless, I don't think he makes great choices, but I wouldn't call him evil. I think in his mind he's doing the right thing.
Right.
And I don't know if that makes him evil, but in his head he's doing what's right, even if maybe it's not. More, he's gray. Final answer.
Yeah, good people can still do bad things. Evil people can still do good things.
Yes. Final answer.
Final answer. Okay.
Final answer, morally gray.
So we have Zeth is evil and one Zeth is gray. Zeth is a character.
He's there.
He is there, and then he's not. it for quite a while in this book, which is I'm okay with.
I think we get as much death as we need.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else about the prologue? Because we're about to jump.
Let's keep going. Let's jump. Let's keep cooking. Keep moving.
All right. So
give me that chapter 1 summary. I'm going to take a sip of water.
Okay. So here we meet Kaladin, our seemingly main protagonist, through the eyes of a young teenage boy just joining his squad named Sen. Soon after he joins, he learns that Captain Kaladin is not like the other girls.
He's not like the other girls.
He's not like the other girls. He's a beloved leader. He fights in the front with his men and sees them as equals. People still die in his squad, but they have the least amount of casualties. Sorry, I actually jumped ahead a little bit.
You're fine.
Oh, sorry. We learn that Kaladin's goal is for him and his squad to reach the Shattered Plains and fight for the king instead of over like petty landlord squabbles and whatnot. And soon thereafter, they're in like their first battle, like right after Sen joins, and a shard bearer shows up, and the chapter ends with Sen closing his eyes.
Let's speak on it.
Mm-hmm. So in this chapter, we see that Kaladin has a hatred for Light Eyes.
Yeah.
Don't know why. He hates him. Which, I mean, as a dark-eyed person, I'm sure, you are treated as a lower standard of people. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you some, disdain for Light Eyes is pretty reasonable, but, like, Sen like, sees Kaladin, and he's like, oh, he hates them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I am like a diehard Kaladin fan.
Really?
I love Kaladin.
Oh, I never knew that.
I really, I love this man.
I have a very funny picture of you with...
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's online.
Yeah.
It's available.
Mm-hmm.
Not just like because I'm just like, oh my god, Kaladin, he's so honorable. Mm-hmm. He's so beautiful and hot.
Yeah.
No, like I really like him as a character. Like he is very brooding, and I think it's a little obnoxious at times, but like I get it. And I very early on I knew I liked Kaladin.
Yeah.
And I mean, I literally have this marked right here when they're talking about like, oh, we have a new recruit. Mm-hmm. So like, watch out for him. And Dalet's like, oh, well, he's here.
Oh, he's right here.
And then Sen's like, oh, good. Or Kaladin says like, oh, good. I paid a lot of money for him. And Sen's like, what the heck? I'm like a boy.
Yeah. Why
would you pay any money for me? And like, we find out later why Kaladin is so protective of younger people in the army. But as they go on and talk about, why he's there, and, Dalet says to him, like, I think he has a soft spot for boys that look like you, or like for boys that are your age, like in these circumstances, and, less people die on our squad. So he wants to like protect you. That's when I was like, I mean, this is in the first chapter. I was like, okay.
Yeah, respect. No, he's a good guy. Yeah. Hey, he's a good guy.
He's honorable.
He is honorable.
So... I like Kaladin right off the bat here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, there was another thing. Let's see. Sen thought he could see something surrounding the squad leader. A warping of the air, like the wind itself, become visible. Yeah. So
we can't really speak on it,
but already, like, I didn't notice this.
I didn't notice it either. Not even on like my second read through. I don't think I picked that up.
I didn't notice it until this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of get some implications that maybe Kaladin, something's up with Kaladin. He's got some maybe abilities that are latent.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. Something's going on there. Yeah. And we get a lot of wind around Kaladin when he's in the slave cart and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as we are in this battle, Sen ends up getting injured.
Yeah.
And gets separated from everybody, and then Kaladin comes out of nowhere and saves him. That's the part we're just talking about right there, which is where he sees the air warping around Kaladin. And it's just, warms my heart that Kaladin was like, yeah, I'm going to save this kid. Let's see. And then that's where we see after that, we get a lot more dialogue there about that. And then we see galloping directly toward them was a massive black horse bearing a rider in gleaming armor that seemed to radiate light. And it also talks about kind of what the shard plate looks like. They don't say exclusively in this. Oh, well, they do say shard bearer right there.
You're not talking about the fake shard bearer. Okay. I thought you were talking about the guy, because Sen saw a guy in the armor and he's like, is that a shard bearer? And like, no.
No, but
and then a real shard bearer shows up.
Yeah, because that's
like when you're out in the ocean and you see a dorsal fin and your mind is like, is that a shark? And he's like, oh, it's a dolphin.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what you kind of get we get a little world building. We get a little world building here where it kind of talks about the shard plate and what it looks like.
And then it's there.
Yeah. Let's see. He has a massive sword in one hand. It was curved. The side wasn't that sharp. The side that wasn't sharp was ridged like flowing waves. Etchings covered its length. It was beautiful, like a work of art. Sen had never seen a shard bearer, but he knew immediately what this was.
Yeah.
How could he ever have mistaken a simple armored light eyes for one of these majestic creatures?
Dude, yeah. They're different.
They're different. Well,
they are something that, I mean, we can talk about it because like we're talking about part one as a whole. Shard plate is something that these people cannot recreate. They are from ancient times, and I know later on.
Well, they talk about in the prologue that like
each one is a work of art.
Yeah, and Seth even references saying like, oh, like the Alethi say that they're close to recreating shard plate or like being able to create their own,
and that's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he mentions like the Alethi, hearing like people around the world will be speaking like Alethi and whatnot, and like if Zeth is a man who is broken, who kind of has no ties to anything. He has to follow what his masters say. Yeah. And he is even worried about the Alethi. Yeah. Sorry, not to like backtrack and everything.
No, it's fine.
But like that's like so the Alethi are like, oh, okay, Kaladin's Alethi. We like Kaladin and everything. Yeah. But these jokers don't play.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah.
But even with this, we are in the home front of the Alethi and everything. We know that the Shattered Plains, that's where they are fighting the Parshendi and everything. But this is back at home. That's where Kaladin and Sen and everybody is fighting right now in this moment. Yeah. And they're like going to war over land. And so we kind of see like, because there is this power vacuum now, the rulers, they're gone. Yeah. So now all these little, like, still like higher ups, but like little higher ups, they're going after each other, and they are like willing to take lives and start whole like wars and battles for just
over land.
And it kind of is more eye opening to Alethea in general. Yeah, I saw you give the camera a little eye right there. I'm bad at looking at the camera. I always forget it's there.
I mean, it's fine. We're talking to each other.
That's very true.
It's just there in case people on the YouTube want to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
Hello. Hi.
All right. Chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
Honor is dead.
Foreshadowing.
All right, read us your little summary.
Okay. All right, hold on.
This is 8 months after chapter 1 takes place, so after the battle.
I told you some of them aren't that good.
Oh, this one's silly.
So it's just,
I mean, some of them are not super action-packed chapters.
Yeah,
like it's
no.
we can you know speed through them a little.
My little. Then contrast that with the very next chapter, and he's a slave being carried in a wagon to be sold. And that's it.
Period.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I highlighted a couple things in here. So yeah, he is a slave now. He has these brands. I don't think I... Oh, this is where we get our first little meeting with a creature that we don't know, kind of a spren.
A spren.
Supposedly.
A wind spren.
A wind spren that starts talking to Kaladin, and he's like, am I going crazy?
Yeah. We can say Syl. It's Syl. We learn her name later.
It's Syl.
Sylfrena. You know, we love Syl.
Yeah, so people are talking about escaping, and he says he's tried to escape like 10 times in the last 8 months. None of them have been successful. There is a world building thing that I really, really like here. This comes from me being a person who really likes horticulture and also fantasy world building.
Are you talking about the Black Bane?
The Black Bane, but also this is when it says, okay, I will just read it to you.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. The wagons continued to roll, fields of green extending in all directions. The area around the rattling wagons was bare, however. When they approached, I could hear that in the headphones. Yeah. My dog flop at his little ears. When they approached, the grass pulled away, each individual stalk withdrawing into a pinprick hole in the stone. After the wagons moved on, the grass timidly poked back out and stretched its blades towards the air. And so the cages moved along what appeared to be an open rock highway cleared just for them. So... and then it says the next little paragraph. This far into the unclaimed hills, the high storms were incredibly powerful. The plants had learned to survive. And then it has a very, intense quote here. The plants had learned to survive. That's what you had to do. Learn to survive. Brace yourself. Weather the storm. But to me, I'm paying more attention to the fact that, this storm thing has been happening for so long that plants have evolved to adapt to it.
Yeah, to literally just survive in it and everything.
Yeah, and that's it goes back to the same thing that you said about the spren, where it makes the story feel more alive. That the image of a wagon wheel rolling and seeing grass kind of
shrink back.
Yeah.
And then as it passes, come back up and everything. Yeah, no, absolutely. Because, there are, certain plants that do that, but, if I'm just walking down the street, whistling a little tune.
Yeah, an azalea bush isn't going to do that.
It's not going to be ee!
Yeah.
No, absolutely, you're right. Let's see. I have a note. Actually, I'll bring this up first.
Okay.
There's a lot of time jumping at the beginning of this book.
There is, yeah.
I didn't pay attention to that until this time. So we start off in the prelude, and then it jumps to the prologue, and it's 4,500 years later. Okay. Chapter 1, 5 years later. Okay. Chapter 2, 8 months later. Yeah. So I can understand that's a lot of time. Just being skimmed for and everything. So, but it's just a little observation. Just an observation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyways, I'm
gonna keep on moving through to where I have notes, so that way our episode isn't 2 hours long.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. I'll bring this up really fast.
Okay.
Kaladin keeping up with the theme.
Of a broken man.
We have another broken man. We had 2 in the beginning, then we had Zeth, and now we have Kaladin. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Man. That's just something I noticed and everything. Obviously, I knew it about Kaladin and whatnot, but paying attention more to the prologue and prelude now, I'm just oh no, we meet some guys who are messed up, who are down bad.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's see.
I marked our first little interaction with Syl here.
Okay.
Where she comes up and says, "Oh, hey, what's that?" When he has the Black Bane in his hands. Mm-hmm. And he looks at her, and what I've underlined specifically, she Kaladin couldn't help but think of the Windspren as a she, was formed of pale blues and whites and wore a simple flowing white dress of a girlish cut that came down to mid-calf. And it says, Kaladin frowned at the spirit. Spren were all around you. You just ignored them most of the time, but this one was an oddity. The Windspren walked upward as if climbing an invisible staircase. She reached a height where she could stare at Kaladin's hand, so he closed his fingers around the black leaves. It's just so... What?
I have a note that's upside down. I'm sorry.
Okay, no,
I
you're
was listening.
fine.
Yeah.
But it's just, this is where we get the first interaction with Syl, and you realize, like, she's more than just a Windspren, because, like, Spren in general up to this point are just, like, little bugs.
Yeah, like, and we hear her talking.
Yeah. So it already is an oddity at that.
Right, yeah. And, you know, obviously, like, this is weird for Kaladin and everything, but, like, as a reader and everything, it was like, yeah, wait, Spren can't talk? So this is weird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you get, she's real cute immediately. She's like,
she's great.
She's messing with him. She's like, what is this? What are you talking
What's
about?
this? What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, doesn't she say something like, or is that maybe later on, is just like, why do you have a name or something? Like talking to Kaladin. I know later on they have a similar interaction where Cal asks what her name is.
Yeah. And then she goes, I don't know why I have a name.
Yeah, and I have a nickname too.
Yeah. I didn't mark that one. So maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Who knows? Listeners, do you know? Because we don't. I'm pretty sure it's in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I love that. Because it kind of just shows that Spren are naive. Mm-hmm. Especially this one. And this one's a very, very, like, contrasting figure to Kaladin, who is a slave, and here you have a Spren who just seems to be having a good time.
Just a good time.
Yeah, she's like keeping the vibe up and whatnot. Let's see.
I like when like she's talking and he's like looking at the other slaves and he's like, "Did y'all hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all hear that?"
Yeah.
And they're looking at him like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. I kind of want to talk about a character in this.
Do you want to talk about Tvlakov?
I want to talk about Tvlakov.
Okay. Speak on it.
Now, I need everybody just to stick with me on this one. I kind of like Tvlakov. I kind of like him.
All right.
I get it. He's a slaver. He sells slaves. But even later on in the book, Kaladin is just like...
That's probably not what he wants to be doing.
Yeah, no, he probably doesn't want to be doing that, but, like, it's the most, like, lucrative thing for him and whatnot. And also just, like, I'm sorry, he's charismatic.
Yeah, I mean, I like the interaction that they have in this chapter. Well... I don't like this interaction. I like an interaction they have in a later chapter because this is the one where they kill the guy.
Yes, and that interaction also shows us that Kaladin is more learned than we have known prior and everything. So yeah, he's got a little doctor brain. I had a note here that said Dr. Brain activated. But he's talking about this guy's cough and everything. So,
yeah. And he has the blackbane leaves, and he's like...
He does.
He's like, yeah, this could kill me.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or it could kill Tvlakov.
It could kill Tvlakov. I hate how they spell Tvlakov. It's a cool name.
It is
Tvlakov. Tvlakov. Yeah.
Oh. What sound does your gun make?
Tvlakov. You kidding me?
Oh my god. Okay. Do you have anything else to add for chapter 2?
I don't. I'm just kind of flipping through here. I did write some things. Yeah, I think I'm good with chapter 2. It's again, stark contrast to where we started. Cannot wait to find out how this happened because Kaladin was like, he was on his way.
He was in the army. He was doing the thing.
Still on his way.
Still on his way.
Mm-hmm.
Still on his way.
Anyway, now we have to get to the, I'll say it, the best character in the series.
Are you talking about Shallan?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a Kaladin girl. I'm a Shallan boy.
Okay, Kaladin is not my favorite character, though.
I don't believe you. Who?
Yasna.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't like the way you just looked at me when you said that.
Because you know why I said it like that, Whitney. You know why I said that.
love
First off,
her.
there may be 2 reasons why I said that. One of them I'll explain right now. Happy Pride Month, Whitney.
Thanks.
Yeah. The second reason you've already mentioned.
Autism.
Uh-huh.
Okay, next. Chapter 3.
Get to it. All right,
The
chapter
people that
3.
did not listen to the program are going to be mad confused.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, Whitney is autistic, so we'll get that out of the way.
We're not being weird. I am.
Well, we are being weird, but
I am like that.
yeah.
Ryan just like backed away from me.
For all the for all the audio listeners, that's what we call a visual gag.
All right, chapter 3. Give me your little summary.
All right, this one's better.
All right.
Okay. We meet Shallan. She's on her way to meet with Yasna Kholin, the sister to the king, and Shallan wants to become her ward in an effort to save her family house, which is in financial jeopardy. She has followed Yasna to the city-state of Kharbranth, which hosts the largest library in the world. She arrives by ship and comes from Yakaved, which is more of like a backwater country. I wrote that because from what we can tell, it's more of a backwater country. And like, you know, maybe that's not completely true, but like from what we can tell so far, you know. Anyway, so finally, after learning some world building, we finally hear that Shallan's father is dead. And she is about to finally catch up with Yasna.
Finally. Because she has gone to many stops trying to find Yasna, and Yasna just keeps saying, "Oh, well, I'm going here now." So.
So, do you want to see my first note on this page?
Yeah.
Actually, my second note.
What is it? Shallan the goat.
Shallan the goat.
No, and I love Shallan. Don't like.
Okay.
I remember like my initial read through. I wasn't huge on her, but then when I reread it last year, I was like, okay, no, like this girl makes a lot more sense the second time. I didn't find her like I think I found her a little obnoxious in my initial read through.
Yeah.
But my second read through, maybe knowing more of her backstory, her actions made a lot more sense to me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So if you're a first time reader, don't let her bother you because she is amazing.
Yeah. My friend Dimitri, who is reading this series for the first time right now, I kind of asked him because, like, I had that first feeling when I read the book, too. I was just like, yeah, Shallan's cool, but, you know, like, I mean, this is more of a Kaladin-centric book.
Yeah.
Shallan gets more focus in the second one, but she still gets focus here. Which, yeah. But, yeah. Stick with Shallan. She is my favorite for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
I kind of have this. She gives a good simile right here. Expectations were like a fine pottery. The harder you held them, the more likely they were to crack. I'll say it just real quick.
Bars.
Brandon was spitting. He was proud of that one, and I know he was proud of that one. What do you have in about chapter 3, Whitney?
Well, I love one of our first kind of looks at the way that Shallan is.
Okay.
When she is on the boat, they get to Kharbranth, and she has this little interaction with she says her tongue has loosened, being on the ship with all these sailors the whole time, and I mean she already is just kind of gonna be making snide remarks and things anyways.
Yes.
But we see it almost immediately talking to the captain.
Do you want me to? Maybe this will jog your memory because I think it's around the same part.
It's the part where She says my lack of beauty was to blame for us arriving late.
Oh,
and
yes.
he goes, well, and then she goes, so in reality, you're telling me I'm beautiful precisely 1/6 of the time.
Yes.
And he's like, no,
Yes,
it's not what I
yes.
meant. And he said you were like a morning sunrise. And she says, like a sunrise. By that you mean entirely too crimson. And she pulled at her long red hair and prone to making men grouchy when they see me. And it's just like the whole... She has... the interaction goes on for more...
bang,
like
bang.
she's just... I love her.
She's spitting.
She is. She's spitting.
I literally had a note, like, we are shown, like, Shallan's wit is one of her, like, best talents. Like,
Yeah.
it's a quality that she obviously is proud of, but also she does not like it about herself because she can't keep a lot of stuff in sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the way that she was raised in like a very proper household. And so like nobility is not expected to speak that way.
Yeah.
And so that's what, like she always said, she says like, oh, my tongue got me in trouble a lot.
Yeah.
As like a youth. And but the like her wit is like one of my favorite things about her.
Oh, it's great
and her
because it's
character.
always something funny.
Exactly.
Like it's always.
And like even, you know, in the next chapter or two, I don't know when we see her with Yasna.
Yeah.
But like even when she's like talking back to Yasna, like about, you know, Yasna's like, oh, like, well, you have this training in this, and she's like rapid fire answering her questions, and then like I don't know, just, you know, the wit that she has even in that, and Yasna like turns her head and is like, huh? Like, what did you just say? And she's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, like, oops, sorry.
Yeah. And she literally says like, oh, my tongue is loosened, like being on the ship with these sailors.
Yeah.
And I'm just,
So
I love you, Shallan.
I'll read you another one real quick. Another good, just a little quote that I liked, and it's Yalb.
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 I love Yalb.
Love Yalb. He's another. Can I say?
If we're rating it PG-13, yes.
Yalb, we learn, is kind of a bastard, but a likable one, as we see later on. But he says this in regards to, because he's trying to like egg Shallan on into like, you know, being witty, you know, kind of like he wants her to do this because he likes it, you know. Words aren't meant to be kept inside, you see. They are free creatures, and if locked away, will unsettle the stomach. I love that.
I love that as
that's
well.
another one. Brandon,
He was cooking.
He was. Oh, that pen was on fire. Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty much the rest of this chapter is we get more Shallan backstory, and just in general we get a little bit. This is where we find out that her father was dead, and you know, part of the reason that she was in Kharbranth this time is to see Yasna. We don't get the exact reason, but she does say...
No, we do.
Oh, do they?
She wants to be like her ward.
Yeah, but they don't say like why.
Yeah.
Until the next chapter we get with Shallan.
Yeah.
But it does say that like her brothers were trying to, you know, not make, like, the house is bankrupt, but they're trying to make up and pay for their father's debts. And it says that they'd be worked to the bone as punishment. In fact, they might even face assassination by disgruntled creditors.
Yep.
But preventing that depended on Shallan, and the first step came with Yasna. So...
yeah. We also get some world building in this chapter as well in regards to the Vorin religion and everything. There's a part in here where she meets with a master servant and whatnot. Give me a second on. In Vorin belief, one's calling, the task to which one dedicated one's life, was of vital importance. Choosing a good profession and working hard at it was the best way to ensure good placement in the afterlife. And it goes on to like talk about devotees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. It kind of goes to show that Shallan is a believer.
Yeah.
And from what we know about Yasna, is she's not.
Heretic.
I love like kind of the religious aspects that he gets into this and everything. And did we get it in this chapter where we learn some more Vorin reliefs, maybe involving reading? Yeah, Vorin men don't read. They shouldn't read. They only read like glyphs.
Yeah.
Which is like, a form of reading, so I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, well, no.
It's just like a symbol.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
It's
it is like a
kinda
symbol.
Like kind of. No.
It's kind of like a pawn shop.
What?
The pawn shop symbol.
What are you talking about?
A lot of pawn shops will have like 3 balls hanging from like a line and everything, and that's to symbolize this is a pawn shop. Because a lot of people couldn't read.
Oh.
And also like with barber poles.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wish you had said barber poles initially.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're talking about symbols.
Yeah, pawn shop. I did not know about that until just this moment in time.
Pretty interesting, ain't it?
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah.
But that's because like a
Okay.
lot of people couldn't read.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Anyways.
Okay.
Or also the thing like with the staff with the snakes coming off of it.
It's for like a hospital.
doctor,
Yeah.
Or a apothecary.
Apothecary. Yes.
An apothecary. Anyways.
I'm slouching so hard.
Yeah, we're like I'm like trying not to do the what do you call it, the gamer lean.
Oh, I'm in gamer posture at all times.
Are you really?
Oh yeah, especially when I'm legitimately gaming. I'm so like.
Yeah. You're doing like the South Park like thing.
Yeah, I'm playing Baldur's Gate like that.
Oh. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Let's knock out chapter 3 and let's take a quick break.
Okay.
We've been doing this for like an hour now.
An hour, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I really don't have anything else to say about that one.
Yeah.
So if you have anything else, go for it.
Good chapter.
Shout out Shalon.
Shout out Shalon.
Chapter 4.
Chapter 4.
The Shattered Plains.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I even have any notes in this chapter.
Okay.
I don't have a single one, in fact, actually. Yeah, my next note is in chapter 5.
Gotcha.
So we get a couple more cute little Kaladin. Oh, do you have a summary?
Nope.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I don't have a summary
that's
for
why
this
you said that earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. So we get a couple cute little Syl Kaladin interactions. We get a little bit more on Kaladin's branding.
Mm-hmm. Shash. Dangerous.
Mm-hmm. And then Tavlakov wants him to lead the caravan, and Kaladin's like, yeah, let me see the map. Tavlakov gives him the map, and Kaladin rips it up. Mm-hmm. And get a little bit more backstory where you find out Tavlakov does know what happened to Kaladin before he was a slave.
He brought up Lord Amaran and everything.
Brought up Amaran specifically. And then they also go through a high storm.
Yes.
In this chapter, where you find out, like, right as this high storm is kind of ending, they just like open the side of the caravan to let the slaves just get soaking wet, because that's how how they get washed off. And yeah, towards the end, they realize that they've arrived at the Shattered Plains, which is where Kaladin wanted to be all along. Mm-hmm. Not in this fashion.
Yes.
But he's there.
He's here. He made it. So I just have a few things, kind of like just little side notes and whatnot. During the high storm, the storm continued to blow, shaking the wagon. I have underlined here. Those winds felt like live things at times. Anyways.
No elaboration on that.
No elaboration. Just some maybe possibly foreshadowing. And then we have another thing, and I won't get into much detail. Kaladin speaking to Syl. Mm-hmm. I saw others of your kind, Kaladin said idly. Others, she asked, taking the form of a young woman. She began to step around him in the air, spinning occasionally, dancing to some unheard beat. Wind spren, chasing after the storm. Are you certain you don't want to go with them? She glanced westward longingly. No, she finally said, continuing her dance. I like it here. Kaladin shrugged. She ceased playing as many pranks as she once had, and so had stopped letting her presence annoy him. There are others near, she said, others like you. Slaves? I don't know. People, not the ones here. Other ones. Where? And yeah.
It's when they realize they're on the Shattered Plains, and there's a little bit of foreshadowing there as well with people like you.
Mm-hmm. People like you.
People like you.
People like you. And also, Syl. I saw others of your kind.
Yeah.
Anyways, I do have some sort of stuff here in the back that I wrote down. Basically, Kaladin's destiny has brought him to the place that he had been trying to reach for so long. I think that is destiny. I think that is fate kind of playing its way into this. You think fate plays a big hand in this series? I think it plays more of its hand in regards to like Mistborn.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'd agree with that.
But in this, I think fate still has its course and everything, like in all stories.
Yeah.
We get our first indication that high storms are more than what they seem. And also, should I say this? I'm gonna say it, and then if you cut it, you cut it. Syl never tells Kaladin that she is a wind spren in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just been assuming.
Yeah.
And we don't really know what she is yet. So
no, we don't. She's obviously different. She's built different.
She's built different.
Uh-huh. Okay. So anyway, you want to go ahead and just move to Heretic?
Yeah.
Chapter 6.
I like the opening line of this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Shallan had not expected Yasna Kholin to be so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Shallan meets Yasna and talks to her briefly. Then they follow King Taravangian to a large hallway where a boulder has fallen, covering up a room in which his granddaughter and others are trapped. Yasna uses her soul caster to turn the boulder into smoke, saving the young girl and reuniting her with her grandfather, the king. She then denies Shallan the opportunity to be her ward due to her lack of education. So
we get to Shallan meeting Yasna very briefly, because she does come to, like, there's something happening with Taravangian pretty immediately, so it's not like you get a direct Yasna Shallan like official meeting, which I feel like is very fitting for Yasna, because she's like, I don't have time for anything. I don't have time.
Yes.
Like, that's her whole thing. She's like, I don't have time.
She literally says, I appreciate the offer, but I find myself with an abundance of everything but time.
Yes.
Yes.
So I had marked here where Yasna talks about how she is impressed by Shallan's tenacity. She says, I didn't expect you to follow me this far after Kharbranth. I was going to forgo leaving you notes, as I'd presume that you'd given up. Most do so after the first few stops. And Shallan is like, most? Then it was a test of some sort? And Shallan had passed. But I thought that's like one of... I know people perceive Yasna as like kind of a...
rude...
Yeah, it's kind of
rude
like...
Rude lady.
Yeah, it's a rude lady.
I know what you want to say.
Yeah, thank you. Some colorful vocabulary. People like perceive her as rude, and like I would read that and be like, that's inappropriate. Why are you leaving her notes then? Just tell her no. So that's where you already see Yasna kind of being like, well, I appreciate this about you, because that's
kind of a test.
Yeah. So I am a big fan of that.
I also, in that same like first interaction they have and whatnot, Yasna says, I will entertain your request, though understand that my requirements are strict. Shallan covered a grimace. And Yasna says, no tantrum.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. Tantrum brightness from a light-eyed woman? You'd be surprised. That is an indication, kind of like from the jump, and we will learn it later on, that Yasna is a person that cares more about a person's character and skills than their status. Right. Which we see, like, a lot of light-eyed people, they look down at dark eyes and everything and whatnot. But Yasna doesn't seem to be that way. Yeah. Like, she in that moment said, oh yeah, light eyes, they're like, they can suck. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you don't see her have as much, like, bias towards people.
Yes.
Let's see.
We learn what a soul caster is.
We do learn what a soul caster is.
And they're pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
And Yasna has one. And I think it's also in this chapter where we learn that it's kind of nobody knows where she got it from.
Mm-hmm. Nobody knows where she got it from, and it's like surprising that she has one because the people that do have soulcasters are what's the word?
Like religious figures?
Yeah, like they're like
they typically
ardents.
belong to the church. Yeah, ardents.
To the ardents, yeah. And so for Yasna to be like a heretic and have a soulcaster is like, how did you get this?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Which goes back to Shallan contrasting Yasna and her being like a pretty more devout person and everything.
Yeah.
And she probably isn't happy that Yasna has this either.
Yeah.
But we also learn that Shallan has her own plans for that soulcaster.
An ulterior motive.
We learn at the end of this chapter that she's going to steal it. And that is why she wants to become Yasna's ward.
Not for the knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, I think
yeah, for the knowledge, but to steal it.
Yeah, but I think really like Shallan would love to be Yasna's ward.
Oh, absolutely.
In just a normal situation. And like, of course, she is only doing this for her family.
Yeah.
But I think if it was a normal circumstance, that girl would like kill to be Yasna's ward. I like the interaction they have like as they are walking through the hallway.
Yeah.
And she's asking her, okay, well, how are you proficient in this? And what do you know about this? And all of that. She talks about the languages and writing. And Shallan says, I know all the major, minor, and topical glyphs and can paint them oh my God.
Calligraphically? Calligraphically?
Wow. I stuttered through that so hard. I couldn't even get all the way out. But Yasna's response is, so can most children.
Man.
And then,
Dang.
Then she says, the glyph words that I paint are regarded by those who know me as quite impressive. Yasna says glyph words. I had reason to believe you wanted to be a scholar, not a purveyor of superstitious nonsense.
That's a dig.
It is.
Yeah.
And, and Shallan's still trying to prove herself, and she says, I've kept a journal since I was a child in order to practice my writing skills. Yasna says, congratulations. Should I need someone to write a treatise on their stuffed pony or give an account of interesting pebble they discovered, I shall send for you. Is there nothing you can offer that shows you have true skill? And this is where, in my head, I'm like, oh, Yasna. Oh, Yasna. This is
where she became the love of your life?
Not here, because on my initial read through, I was like, this girl sucks.
Yeah.
I was like, she's so rude. And then I loved Yasna the more that we get into her. But I remember reading this and being like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Why is she so mean?
Yeah.
To this poor girl. And Shallan's just trying to be like, no, but I am smart. And then Yasna's like, okay, but do you know this? And that's what where I think Shallan makes a really good point. I don't know if it's in this chapter or I think it's actually one of the later ones where she's like, but I'm self-taught.
Right.
She's like, I have the tenacity to want to teach myself this. I have this thirst for knowledge. You want a ward who's already well learned.
Yeah.
And what is the point of that at that point? Just someone to recite answers back to you? No, I want to actually learn from you.
Yeah.
Which I love. And then in the same vein of this conversation that they're having in this moment, she talks about, and there's a name here that I don't think I picked out in my first or second reread. But she talks about being accomplished in mathematics. I've often helped in minor accounts for my father. I've read through the complete works of Tormus, Nishan, Naali the Just, and of course Noadon.
Noadon.
Yeah. That's on page 95.
Okay.
She is talking about the philosophy. Yeah. And so that's what I was like, Noadon.
Noadon.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So
okay.
I was like, I don't think that's really foreshadowing any sort of way. And obviously we're not going to talk about this because it is, I guess, kind of spoilery. But just the fact that that name is brought up so early on, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't catch that in my first two reads.
No, I didn't catch that until you just pointed out to me right now. Right now.
Noadon.
Yeah, it took me a minute to even remember who Noadon even was.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that's awesome. Okay. All right. I do have under here, kind of like on that same page and everything. Yasna points out that history is the most important of the literary subjects, and I think that like holds true to Yasna's character and everything. It kind of reinforces that like she is in a library to learn, to like read through and whatnot. And I think that also going back to how Yasna feels about people. Yasna cares more about the person and not necessarily the people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah.
Which you learn through history.
Exactly.
It's about the usually the individuals who make the big swings.
Exactly. So we see this interaction continue a little bit longer. And then they end up at where the rock is blocking
Yes.
Taravangian's granddaughter. Yes, his granddaughter. She's trapped behind this rock because the high storm shook the city so viciously that this room, I guess, like caved in. Yeah. Which they say, this is, a disadvantage of your city being built into a mountain.
Yeah. Well, the palace being built. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that happens, and this is where we see the soul casting happen for the first time. And I remember the first time I read this scene, I was just so wildly confused at like what was actually going on. Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah, Yasna's just a little bracelet, soul caster, like doohickey, just turn the rock in the smoke. Okay. Yeah.
You're like, yeah, but Taravangian's granddaughter gets freed.
So I'm gonna pause you right there.
Absolutely.
Right before she turns the rock into smoke, they do have a good interaction, kind of showing how I think clever Shalana is. Where Yasna asks her,
yes, the rock.
What method would you use to ascertain the mass of this stone? Well, I suppose I'd ask His Majesty. His architects probably calculated it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Yasna's like, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, yeah. Because, I like where she says, a scholar knows not to waste time rediscovering information already known. It's a lesson I sometimes forget.
Yep. And then after that, where she has saved the granddaughter and everything and reunited them, there's just a quick little thing. Yasna opened her eyes, blinking as if momentarily confused by her location. She took a deep breath and didn't cough. Indeed, she actually smiled as if enjoying the scent of the smoke, which shows us that I think it has other implications, but the implication that I get is that Yasna is capable of empathy.
Yeah.
And she is glad that she helped this person and everything.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like a thing that she like had to do for the king to like get access to stuff like that. It was like she genuinely was like happy that she helped this person and everything. So just a little something. Yeah, just a little something.
And then right after that, Yasna's like, okay, take me to the Palaneum now, please. And let's see. After that, this right at the end of the chapter, the very last page, this is where we learn what Shallan's motives are about stealing the Soulcaster, because it's where you find out 6 months ago her dad died, and she explained to her brothers that she would apprentice herself not for the education, not for the prestige, but in order to learn where she kept her Soulcaster so she could steal it. Yes.
Awesome. I don't have any other notes on this chapter. Do you have any other final thoughts?
No. That's it.
Ooh, it's a good
chapter. 6.
Ooh.
Bridge 4.
Bridge 4.
I like see those words and I like tear up a little. I'm like, oh, wow.
We're in it.
We're in it.
We're not in it yet, but we're about to be in it.
We're about to be in it.
We're about to be in it.
Yeah.
So Bridge 4. Let's see. I do have notes on. I do have something for this. Yeah. All right. Kaladin gets sold by Tvlakov to Sadius's war camp, where he is made into a bridgeman. He learns that bridgemen are the lowest of the low, and he also learns that it is a fate that most would consider worse than death. including himself. Miraculously, Kaladin survived his first bridge run, and his nightmare continues. Number 1. We learned Syl's name in this chapter.
We do learn Syl's name. Yeah, so the first little bit is Kaladin being sold off into Sadeas's army. I don't really have any notes here.
This is more of the stereotypical light eyes that we've come to associate with the type of person that Kaladin does not like.
Right.
And kind of assumes all light eyes are. Mm-hmm. And he basically, like, is trying... He's lying to her and everything, saying that, you know, like, oh, I murdered a man and everything. And that was his plan with Tvlakv. Like, they were going to keep this narrative. And then Tvlakv kind of, like, betrays him. Yeah. And basically tells the bright-eyed woman, like, flat out, he's a deserter, Brightness. And
because he's trying to be like, no, I can fight in your army, like I'm a trained soldier, I can fight. And he's like, Tvlakv's like,
no, you shouldn't trust him,
this guy sucks.
Yeah. And I'll say it again, I can't blame Tvlakv, because he brings up a good reason. Because, like, if they find out that Tvlakv lied to them, like, they'll come after him, and that'll ruin his reputation. They might kill him for it.
No, I mean, I feel very neutral about Tvlakv, I have to be honest. Yeah. Like I get why he does what he does. Like, I'm not saying, like, I would get a beer with Tvlakv or anything. Yeah. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, I can't blame the guy. You know? Yeah. I can't blame him. Can't blame him.
Yeah. He's got a point. He's got to look out for himself. Yeah. Anyways, so Kaladin becomes a bridgeman.
Immediately.
Like, and
so immediate.
He's also, not only this, the war camp that he sold into is Sadeas. Yeah. Prince Sadeas. In which he was serving, essentially, his army. Mm-hmm. Back when he was a regular soldier.
Yeah, like when he was in Amram's army.
Yeah. So in a twist turn of fate, he is back where he was originally going to be. Yeah. Yep. Always finds a way to bring you back.
And this is where we find out about what Bridge 4 is and just the bridgemen in general.
Mm-hmm. We meet Gaz.
Who
sucks.
He sucks, but I kind of like him in the later books.
Oh, yeah, no, I like him too.
But he sucks in this one.
No, he's terrible. And Kaladin recognizes, like, this is the type of guy. He understands immediately, like,
what type of person
this
he is.
Guy.
Yeah.
And he is that guy.
He is that guy.
And, well, he's not that guy, but yeah.
He is the guy.
He understands the type of person that Gaz is. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. Gaz... Yeah, he sucks, but also I kind of feel similar to Gaz as I do to Tvlakv. Yeah. Like, he's looking out for himself, and, like, I get it. Like, and
I feel like if you are in charge of a bunch of people, like, you have to act a certain way or people aren't going to respect you. Yeah. Like, especially in, like, a war setting, especially, like, these are all people who are slaves. Like, they've obviously already... Or not obviously, but they've already maybe done something that's a little off the cuff. Yeah. You know, so you need these people to respect you. Mm-hmm. So even though, like, they're already beaten down and battered, like, they had to get to that point. Yeah. So.
We kind of... So as soon as Kaladin gets to Bridge 4, it's like off rip. Oh, they're going on a bridge run. Kaladin doesn't even get sandals. He's barefoot. He doesn't get a tunic. He doesn't get
the vest, yeah.
Or vest, excuse me. And he has to do this raw, and like everybody else, don't give me that. Everybody else, he like has protection for their shoulders. Like it's digging into him this whole time, and it gets to a point where he thinks like, okay, we're done. That was terrible, and then it keeps going. Yeah, and he almost falls off the bridge at one point. Yeah, and just by instinct, he pulls himself back up.
Yeah, and that's what I love. I don't love the scene, but it's a cool scene where there is kind of like a moment of triumph where, you know, he's running at the back the whole time, and then he gets to the front, and he's running in the front, and he's like, oh my God, this is so much better than being at the back. Like, I don't see this as a punishment. And then, of course, they run up, and the Parchendi are already ready with arrows.
Arriving is the worst part.
Yeah. And so then he's like, oh my God. And it's just, God, it's so...
He somehow is even down worse.
There is a moment, let's see. Yes, okay, so this is right when they, let's see. Is this after? Okay, so this is when they finally get there, and this is after one of the times that they drop the bridge and they're way. This is not the arrival. It's right before that.
Yeah.
Kaladin refers to Syl. It is referred to in the book. The sentence says, Gaz watched them with obvious envy, and Kaladin's windspren danced around the man's head. It specifically says Kaladin's windspren, and I caught
Kaladin's windspren.
and I was like, oh, a little bit of ownership there.
Yes.
So that was one that I caught on
He
this
gets a
time.
little jealous too, right?
Yeah, he's like, why is she over there with Gaz? That guy sucks. What about me?
Yeah.
But that was cute. Yeah, it was just like a note where I was like, Kaladin's windspren? Mm-hmm. I was like,
oh.
What?
Whoa.
But then so then they get to the arrival. Pretty much everybody except Kaladin dies. That's in the front.
Yeah.
And it's a really gruesome scene.
Yeah.
And it goes back to your theme of like a broken man. Like this, like really, you see it break Kaladin very quickly.
I mean, like quite literally, like he passes out and then all you hear is Kaladin and he says like, I can't go back.
Yeah.
Let me go. And Syl punches him in the face.
Love her.
And dude, yeah. Get off. Come on.
You're the hero, man.
Come on. Oh, it's great.
No, it's
great.
so good. And this right immediately after that is where she says her name for the first time.
Yeah.
Because she was like, I do have a name. She said, why do I have a name? Calvin says, how should I know?
I don't know. How should I know?
And then she says, my name is Sylfrena. Syl. That's amusing. It appears I have a nickname.
Congratulations.
Let's see. And then I have something underlined right here. Let's see. Either carry or stay behind, Gaz said. He seemed angry about something. And Kaladin says, I was supposed to die. That's why he didn't care if I had a vest or sandals. I was at the front. He was the only one in the first row that had lived.
Yep. He always lives.
Always lives.
Always lives.
And then right at the end of this chapter, it says, it appeared he'd been wrong. There had been something more they could do to him. One final torment the world had reserved just for Kaladin. And it was called Bridge 4.
I'll say it again. I know I'm a broken record. That's tough. That's tough.
Brandon was cooking.
He was cooking.
He was cooking.
All right. Do you have anything else for Bridge 4?
That's all I got for that one.
That's all I got for Bridge 4 too.
All right. Chapter 7.
Chapter
Anything
7.
reasonable.
Oh, I love it. I love this chapter.
I do as well.
Anything reasonable. We haven't really been talking about the collected quotes up at the top. I won't talk about this one, but there will be one that I do want to talk about later on.
Okay.
Yeah. Just that's, I just wanted to address it. I know we've been skipping over them and everything. It's just a lot of them you do not understand until probably like later on in the series.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Is, yeah. So, anyways. All right. Shallan makes her way back to the Palanaeum before Yasna gets there and begins to start drawing in Yasna's reading alcove to pass the time and clear her mind. Afterwards, she writes a well-argumented letter stating why she should be her ward, and she is completely self-trained. She then meets a young Ardent who is unlike others she has met before. She quickly befriends Ardent Cabsul and asks him to bring some jam next time they meet. We meet Cabsul.
We do meet Cabsul.
Do we like Cabsul? I like Cabsul. In this moment, I like Cabsul.
In this moment, I like Cabsul as well.
He's an interesting guy. He's very, very just different from the Ardents we have met. And even Shallan brings up like, oh, my father had Ardents, and he like said like, oh, they were all like old
decrepit
men, decrepit old man. And he kind of like pokes fun at her with like how devout Vadens are.
Because she keeps calling him Ardent, and he's like, you can call me Capsule, my name is Capsule. And she's like, okay, Ardent. He was like, do you want me to get up on the table and dance? Because I will do that if it will make this a more or a less respectable interaction. And she's like, no, I will call you Capsule.
Yep. Yeah, it's great. It's a great interaction. I love it.
One thing I picked up on immediately once they are in the Palladium, this is a couple pages after the chapter starts.
I think I know what you're going to say.
So they are in a large room. And this is where all the reading rooms are. Yeah. And this room is called the Veil.
I had that same thought. I'm going to say, I know where you're going with it.
I don't think it's related.
I don't think yeah, okay, good.
But it was an interesting little...
Yes, okay, good. I thought you were going to be like,
I have a conspiracy.
There the whole time. No.
No, that was just one where I was like, oh.
Interesting, yeah.
But yeah, we get a lot of really cool world building right here on like how the Palladium looks, and it just seems like a beautiful building that I would like to be in. Yeah. At some point in my life.
It's the largest library in the world. They have over 700,000 books. Tomes, not books. Blech, tomes.
Separate. It actually says 700,000 separate texts.
Texts.
So
all right.
So tomes, books, scrolls even. Who would have thought? Who'd have thunk? But yeah, that's when she like has this moment where she's like, man, I could learn so much. My father only had 87 books, much less 700,000.
Yeah.
And I felt that.
It kind of does, like, to your point that you made earlier, Shallan would probably love to be Yasna's ward.
Absolutely.
But she and Shallan's letter, I'll say it, that's a good argument.
No,
she writes a good argument.
I thought her argument was fantastic. I mean, I talked about it earlier where she's like, I'm completely self-taught. Like, I am doing this because I want to, not because it's like, you know, expected of me as like a young woman. Like, I actually have a thirst for knowledge. Yeah. And I mean, I think her argument is very, very good.
Absolutely. What did I have here? Oh, yeah, never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
You're fine.
It was just something we repeated and everything. Yes.
Oh, and Capsule's Herdazian.
Yes, he is. So our first Herdazian that we meet. Wait, is he like straight up Herdazian, or does he just have like a Herdazian accent?
It says Herdazian accent.
Okay.
But he has the look as well, I believe.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Well, maybe not entirely. Both of us like going silent reading was so funny.
Do you want to know the reason I just went silent?
Yeah.
So I have a note right here. I'm going to read it.
Okay. Read it.
It's hard to not like Capsule. I get why people have a thing for priests. I have a friend who has a thing for priests.
That's very funny.
And I find it interesting, but I get it. I don't.
Yeah.
But I get it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's which you can't have. And there's already, and you know, Shallan is they're kind of flirting with each other a little bit.
There's flirtation.
Yeah, there's flirtation for sure. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add for this chapter?
I do not.
I think it's a great chapter.
I do too. I like the interaction.
I think it's just very straightforward.
Yeah, it is very straightforward.
Yeah.
The next chapter.
The next chapter.
Near the flame.
This is chapter 8. And it's also a pretty good chapter, and I also have a summary. It's actually kind of a long summary.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yasna arrives back at her reading alcove and berates Shallan, telling her to go. Before Shallan even makes it down the hallway, She calls her back and apologizes. Soon thereafter, she learns of Shallan's upbringing and reads her letter and says that Shallan can petition her again at a later date after she has educated herself further. Shallan then decides that she needs to go buy new books to study and memorize the material to complete this task as fast as possible. Through the help of Yalb and some confidence work, she gets the books she needs for a reasonable price and returns to the Palanaeum and begins to study. Jasnah sees Shallan and tells her to go to her personal alcove and bring all her things, becoming her ward.
Yay!
Yay! She did it! She did it! Yippee!
That's about how I feel about this whole chapter.
Yeah.
Like, I really like it. I like the interaction that they have where Jasnah's like, were you so close because you were going to come back and bother me? And Shallan's like, well, no, how else would you have read my letter? And she's like, what letter?
Yeah.
She's like, under all the books there? And she's like, oh.
Right. She didn't like to be proven wrong and everything. And,
yeah.
You know, it's a valid point and whatnot. Shallan also, we're automatically like, we know that Shallan has a good memory. Mm-hmm. She's able to sketch people just from her like taking a memory, just like, you know, like click, like photographic memory and whatnot. Yeah. But we also like, it's said that she is capable of memorizing text and whatnot, just not as easy as like images and whatnot.
Right.
And she's going to use that to her benefit so that she can, you know, learn faster and become Yes's ward even faster through impressing her by learning all the things as fast as possible.
Yeah.
That, I think, says something about Shallan, that Shallan has probably the best memory of any character in this book.
Probably.
However, what we also know about Shallan is she has things she does not want to remember.
Yeah.
And because
she does have a little like flash moment.
And she's like, nope, don't think about it, don't remember it. And we'll see that more. But it's a very interesting thing when you have somebody with a perfect memory or a near perfect memory who has things they would rather forget.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting stuff. And I like it that it's kind of shown to us this early on.
Yeah. I agree.
Also, with her interactions with Yalb, we see the beginnings of some more roguish tendencies that Shallan will start.
Oh, yeah.
And Yalb's kind of like, you would think it would be another character that shows up later, but it's kind of Yalb that kind of shows her that you can be a little deceiving.
Yeah.
And Shallan starts picking up on that some more and whatnot.
Yeah.
And yeah. Just a little food for thought.
Something I picked up on.
Okay.
Is after she initially talks and says, you can come back and, you know, I'll accept you later. And she says, this would be a great victory. Being trained by Jasnah Kholin, thought to be one of the finest living scholars, would have ensured a bright future.
He's slurping.
Yeah.
He's thirsty.
Gotta wait till he's done because I can hear it on the mic.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Well, maybe they like it. If you guys like hearing the dog drink his water, let us know. He's done?
Good boy, Zeus.
Good boy, Zeus.
Good boy. Okay, so it says, being trained by Jasnah Kholin, thought by some to be one of the finest living scholars, would have ensured a bright future. Shallan would have married extremely well, likely to the son of a high prince, and would have found new social circles open to her. Indeed, if Shallan had possessed the time to train under Jasnah, the sheer prestige of a Kholin affiliation might have been enough to save her house.
I want to like jump across this couch and strangle you. Well, I didn't pick up on that at all.
Yeah.
We can't say anything.
Can't say anything.
Sorry.
Foreshadowing, though.
That's some foreshadowing, I think.
I read that and I was like...
I don't think that's like a stretch by any means. I think that is perfect. Like that. Yeah. That's exactly what it needs to be.
The sheer prestige of a Kholin affiliation might have been enough to shave her house. The sheer
prestige of a Kholin affiliation.
Well, she's her ward, so...
Yeah, she's her ward now.
She's her ward.
That's her affiliation.
But yeah, after this is when...
Yeah, now her real task began.
Yeah, so this is when she leaves, and she's like, y'all, take me to a bookstore. And they go to the bookstore, and then the guy tries to charge her an egregious amount of money.
Yeah.
For like
eight emerald bromes.
It was 10.
It was 10?
And then Yalb was like, oh, well, come back to my bookstore, where he's pretending to work at another bookstore, work for this other bookseller. And he's like, well, come back to my bookstore, we'll give it to you for less. And then he was like, and the bookseller was like, oh, well, I could go down to 8 bromes. And Yalb was like, oh, that is a crime.
Yeah.
That you would charge this woman this much. We will charge her 3 emerald bromes. Yeah. And he's like, okay, I can do 3 emerald bromes and this many clear chips or whatever. And Shalon's like, I guess I'll pay you that much.
Yeah.
I guess I will.
Even though, like, Shalon's on her, like, she's kind of broke. She's going broke right now.
And that's what, I mean, there is a scene where Yasna...
Yeah, it's like when she returns.
That. Yeah, once she's back in the alcove and she's in the one next to Yasna, Yasna comes over and is like...
What are you doing?
What are you doing? And she sees the books and she goes, oh, so you were just going to learn everything super fast to impress me. And blah, blah. And Shalon's like, yeah, that was the plan. Mm-hmm. And Yasna's like, all right. And then she's like, give me your satchel. Yeah. So Shalon passes Yasna her satchel, and she looks at all the contents, and she finds that picture of her in there that Shalon drew. And she looks at it for a second. Shalon's like, what do you... Yasna doesn't say anything, doesn't really make any facial recognition about it. And... but she looks up and sees all of her spheres in the thing to create light. And she just kind of like, yeah, okay. All right, well, you can stay with me, so. Yeah,
and Yasna and I, she asked her, like, why are you drawing all these? Yeah. Like, why are you doing this? She's like...
Because I want to.
Because I want to. She's like, okay.
Yeah, because she's like, oh, you have...
Yeah, he's been hanging out.
Okay.
Yeah, right, yeah. I wasn't going to do that, but I'm glad. Okay. I don't know if I'm glad you did that. He wouldn't hurt nobody.
I don't know.
This is your place.
So. What he's doing. I mean, it is Georgia in the middle of the summer, so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There was a bug.
It was a bug. That's what I thought was cool, was that she was like, I'm wanting to do this, and she has like all these sketches of like botany and of like, creatures and all these things, and Yasna's like, okay, so you actually do want to do this.
Yeah, like you actively go out of your way to learn.
That actually is what I have noted right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you ready to go on to chapter 9?
I am. Yeah. This is the last one, isn't it?
Is it?
I think it is.
No, we have 3 more.
3? What?
Damnation.
Damnation. Can I just say the chulls in this sketchbook, they remind me of like Drebble from Pokemon.
Oh, yeah, because they're both like based off like hermit crabs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's cute. You think whoever made Drebble as a Pokemon read the Stormlight Archives first?
No.
Just a thought.
Wait. What's your least favorite Pokemon?
My least favorite?
Yeah. Mine's Sock.
That's really specific.
Why is it? I don't
know. Like, I feel like mine, I was just going to be, I don't know. Like, just something you run into on any sort of route. Sock was, like, really specific.
Sock just looks like a Muppet. Okay, all right.
We'll yap at the end.
All right, sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry. All right.
Chapter 9. Damnation. All right, what's your summary here?
I mislabeled it in my notes. I put it was chapter 10. Anyway. Kaladin has spent a few weeks in Bridge 4. He has grown completely numb and has entered full depression mode. He is now the oldest Bridge 4 member.
Yeah, and it's only been like 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
He doesn't even know. He's like 2, 3 more, like a month. Who knows? The first page of this chapter, I have something. So Kaladin had not been assigned to Bridge 4 by chance, but I have under there by fate.
By fate.
Not by chance, by fate. But in that next paragraph, Kaladin sat outside, back to the barrack wall, a sprinkle of rain falling on him. It wasn't a high storm, just an ordinary spring rain, soft, a timid cousin to the great storms. Very next line, Syl sat on Kaladin's shoulder. That might be a stretch, but I feel like there's something where you can look at that and be like, it was right there this whole time.
It was right there the whole time.
It was there. I literally have like my note was foreshadowing ?
I see. I understand.
Mm-hmm. You're picking up what I'm putting down?
I am picking up what you're putting down. What I had underlined in this chapter was, Kaladin is just totally out of it. Syl even says, like, you haven't spoken in days. What I had underlined was he kept staring, slumped. There was a way out. Bridgemen could visit the chasm near the camp. There were rules forbidding it, but the sentries ignored them. It is seen as one mercy that could be given to the Bridgemen. Bridgemen who took this path never returned. And then it goes into this whole thing where Syl is like, Kaladin, like, are you good? Like, you haven't spoken in days. And Kaladin goes, my father used to say there are two kinds of people in the world. He said there are those who take lives and there are those that save lives. And Syl's like, what are you talking about? Kaladin's like, I used to think he was wrong. I thought there was a third group, people who killed in order to save. But I was a fool. There is a third person, a big one, but it isn't what I thought. Syl says, what group? He said the people who exist to be saved or killed. The group in the middle. The ones who can't do anything but die or be protected. The victims. That is all that I am. And I was like...
That's heavy.
Yeah, and that's what we get into the next chapter with Liren.
Yeah.
So we get a little bit more of the backstory of, like, Kaladin and his dad. And
yeah. Where he tells Cal that quote and everything. Yeah,
but that's what this whole chapter is really just, you see how because you already saw in the last chapter that we have with Kaladin how much he already was broken just by the initial bridge run.
Now I would say he's fully broken.
Exactly.
You haven't spoken in days.
Yeah, and that's what Syl's like, I'm worried about you. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. And then there's another boy that comes into the bridge crew that reminds him of Tien, and he sees him die, and it's just like he breaks down, he cries at the end of this chapter.
Yeah. And it's also in this where he was like, there was one other guy that was with me in Bridge 4 when I joined, and now he dies, and now Kaladin's like, he is the oldest one.
And this is also when Syl says, like, I'm leaving you.
She's leaving him.
Yeah.
She is like the last good thing in his life.
And she's like,
I have to. If I stay, I'm afraid I'm going to lose myself.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
Yep.
I don't think I have much written for this.
For the stories of surgeons?
All right, no, for Damnation and everything. It's kind of straightforward, most of it again. It's just, man, this one's a bummer.
Yeah.
This one is a bummer.
Yeah. It's like you said, the broken man trope comes back here for sure. But this is like the most broken, I think, that we see Kaladin in like probably the whole series. Pretty close to it. In the next chapter. It's
like top 3.
Yeah.
It's like top 3.
It is top 3. After this surgeons, what do you call it? The
flashback.
Yeah, flashback. Thank you.
Yeah.
The next chapter is where we see Kaladin at his lowest, but then.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get through this. The story of surgeons, chapter 10. Kaladin is 10 years old, helping his father heal a young woman's hand. His father dreams for him to become a proper surgeon, and Kaladin shows great promise in his study at a very young age. Kaladin dreams to become a soldier and is already conflicted about his circumstances. So this one is just kind of giving more context on, like, because throughout this first part, Kaladin has brought up his father and his many sayings multiple times, and it's kind of like the things that he learned from his dad, and that will continue like throughout the whole entire series.
Yeah.
And it kind of just goes to show, like, Kaladin had a path set for him at a very young age, and he was shown to be like very capable at that path that he was supposed to take.
Yeah.
But something changed, and we will learn that much later. But
Yeah.
It's very interesting because I do like that we're like, okay, this is why Kaladin knows all these like medical knowledge and whatnot. And it's just a very nice chapter. I like Liren in this chapter a lot. He just seems like a very caring dad, and who is just trying to show his son like the proper way to be and everything.
Yeah.
But Kaladin also kind of resents his father because he
wants to be a soldier.
He wants to be a soldier, and he knows that the people of this town kind of like will look down on him, and Liren tells him, it's like, that's because they've gotten too used to having a surgeon.
Yeah.
Like, if they did not have a surgeon, they would be begging for us to help them and everything. And also, this is where we first kind of learn about the Radiants.
Yeah.
Which was an order formed by the Heralds. And we can say this, the Heralds, they were the two guys that we met in the prelude. Mm-hmm. They were Heralds.
Yeah.
They're like seen as godly figures and whatnot. And the Radiants were the orders that they founded and whatnot. And it's shown now that the Radiants are kind of spoken bad about in this. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think you just summed up the chapter perfectly. I have no notes.
Okay. All right. So, all right, cool. Well, we'll get and I don't mean this bad. We can get on to the good stuff now.
Yeah. This is
the last chapter, and
this is one of my favorites. Like, because I've had, I feel like I see this chapter in like parts of my life. Yeah. Like, this is like a part where I remember reading this for the first time, and like this, I mean, if you want to give your little summary, but like when Kaladin is looking down at the honor chasm, I feel like I have had times in my life where I feel like I have been looking down the honor chasm and been like, all right, like that this is it. Like, this is.
And then it's not.
And then it's not.
And then it's not.
And yeah, that's what's, man, I love this chapter a lot just because like I said, I see it in my own life. I think it's a really good depiction of like depression and like, suicidal ideation and things like that. But I think it's written very well.
Yeah. I actually don't have a summary for this.
Oh.
But we can just kind of riff. So
we'll just talk about it.
Yeah, no, Kaladin is seen like it's just after a high storm. Syl is gone. He's like done, and he makes the decision that he is going to go to the honor chasm, and it's called that because it is the last basically thing a bridgeman can make for himself. It's the last decision that they can do, and is to take their own life. And he meets Gaz on the way there, and Gaz is like, oh,
where do you think you're going?
Yeah, oh, you're trying to steal spheres? Because we also learned that spheres are like recharged. I forget what they're called.
But they get like recharged during the
high storms and everything. And that's what Gaz was doing. He's like, were you out trying to steal spheres? And he's like, no, I'm going to the honor chasm. And Gaz is like he takes a minute and he's like,
all right.
Okay, well, leave your vest and your sandals there. And you're just like, come on,
yeah,
Gaz.
because he's like, I don't want to have to send someone down there after you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, and it's, the land has been broken, and now this is Kaladin when he's like, Kaladin looked over the plains. He couldn't see much through the darkness and rain. No, this place wasn't natural. That's also maybe some foreshadowing, which I just picked up on reading that sentence. The land has been broken, and now it broke the people who came to it. And it truly is like, that's what's happening. Like, he's going to go do it.
Yeah, and then out of nowhere, Syl comes flying in with a black bane leaf in her hand, and she's like, "This is so heavy. Do you know how long it took me to carry this all this way?" And he's like, "Huh?"
He starts like laughing a little, right?
Yeah, he's like, "What?
One of the most poisonous things in the world, and you just brought it to me, and you're happy for me."
Yeah. She's like, "Well, you had these leaves in the cart, and you seemed to be in a better mood then." So.
And he like is basically like, "I failed. They're dead now and everything." And Syl's just like, "Well, yeah, but you can give it one more try."
And she's like, "You gave them longer than they would have had without you," which is what I'm like.
Yes, very true. And then they go have a little back and forth, and then she says this. "You can't fail this time, Kaladin. You've said it. They're all going to die anyway."
Yeah.
Which, I mean, like, yeah, what do you have to lose?
So why not try anyway?
Yeah.
That's what, this is related, I guess, kind of. There's a quote that I think literally came from like a Tumblr post. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Where someone was like, you know, how do I do this thing if I'm scared to do it? And the person replies and they say, "Well, do it scared."
Yeah.
It's like, I love that. Yeah. And then there's the quote of like, someone commenting on it was like a TikTok where some girl commented like, "It's going to take you so long to do this." And the person who made the post responded and said, "The time's going to pass anyways."
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's just it's same vibe to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Where she's 100%. Like, "Well, they're going to die anyways, so why would you not just try?"
So then Kaladin goes back.
He says, "You're right."
You're so right.
And
let's do it.
He stomps back over to Gaz and he says,
grabs him by the throat and slams him on the ground.
Which is so awesome.
No, like, "I'm in charge now. Like, I'm gonna bribe you, Buster, but Bridge 4 belongs to me."
He said, "I'm the bridge leader." And he says,
"You're gonna stay out of my way."
He's like, "I'm gonna stop paying my slave debt." He's like, "I want all my clear marks. You can have one out of my pay per week. And for your efforts." And he says, "For what efforts?" And he says, "Your efforts in staying the damnation out of my way."
Too tough. Too tough. Oh.
And then that's when after that interaction with Gaz, he goes into Bridge 4 and he shakes this guy and he goes, "What's your name?" And he's like, "I'm not going to tell you." And he's like, "Tell me your name." He's like, "I'm your bridge leader. I'm Kaladin. What is your name?" And he says, "I'm Taft."
You know what my note was for that?
What?
Yeah!
And then he goes around and he shakes everybody and asks everybody their names, and he's sitting there looking at everybody, repeating their names, making sure he knows their names. And Syl's sitting with him while he's doing this. She looks encouraged, bright, happy. He didn't feel any of that. He felt grim, tired, and wet, but he wrapped himself in the responsibility he had taken, the responsibility for these men. He held to it like a climber clung to his last handhold as he dangled from a cliffside. He would find a way to protect them.
I love it.
That's the end of part 1.
End of part 1. So I'm going to jump back a little.
Okay.
What Kaladin says to Taft. "Get some rest," Kaladin said, releasing Taft's hand. "We're going to have a hard day tomorrow." "How do you know?" Taft asked, rubbing his bearded chin. Because we're bridgemen, Kaladin said, standing. "Every day is hard."
And Taft kind of chuckles at that. But
all right, yeah. No, hey, this kid, all right.
He's onto something.
All right. So that is the end of part 1.
Oh, man.
We went longer than I maybe initially thought. Which is fine.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine. Here's the thing. We're probably going to go longer on other parts because
they are longer.
And
more things happen.
But we're still getting into the swing of things and whatnot.
Yeah.
Whitney, how did we feel about part 1?
Dude, I love part 1.
This book rocks.
This book is awesome.
Yeah.
I feel bad for everybody that doesn't like these books. I have to be so honest.
So funny thing. One of my very, very good friends, I would say one of my best friends, Ben
Yeah. Shut up, Ben.
No, yeah, shut up, Ben. I thought you said shut up, Ben. I was like, oh, hold on.
Oh.
So Ben told me of this individual that he talked to who said he doesn't like Sanderson, and he found that interesting because he knows how big of a fan that I am, and he genuinely hears just like good things about him. Mm-hmm. And he said, no, why don't you like him? He's like, he just kind of redoes old fantasy tropes that I've already seen and everything. But this is what I kind of learned about this person. This guy's older. Mm-hmm. He's like 50-ish, probably late 40s, 50s-ish. You understand what the concept of an old head?
Yeah.
Like with hip hop?
Oh, I mean, I understand that. And I mean, that's what, like, I mean, I'm a big part of like the metal community and stuff, obviously. Yeah. And there's like old head, like metal heads and like
this
hardcore
is an
people.
Old head fantasy guy.
Oh.
Like, I never thought that I would see the day where I saw that.
That's gonna be me in 30 years when some like new fantasy author's out, and I'm like, but they don't write like Brandon Sanderson does.
They don't write like him or Sarah J. Maas or Scott Lynch or R.F. Kuang. Those were the good old days. Yeah, that's right. I know authors. Yeah. You like that? Somebody out there is saying like, oh, it's Scott Lynch. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's like looking in a mirror. That's going to be me in 50 years. 30 years. Oh, my God.
30 years. How old will you be in 30 years, Whitney?
55.
I want to be 54.
Just had a crisis.
In 30 years? That's a bad thing. We're not even 30 yet. We're thinking about this. Anyway, this is the rambling part. This is like, all right. I'll say this. I get it. We just spent 2 hours talking about a book. This is like our cool downs and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're just going to chill and vibe. If you want to check out now, that's fine. Or if you just want to hear some people talk, you go right ahead.
I feel like you're hanging out with your friends.
Hanging out.
We're just hanging out.
Yeah.
To reference earlier.
Okay.
I have no clean water right now.
Oh, yeah.
I live in downtown Atlanta, and we've had 2 water main breaks in the last 2 days. And so we have been boiling water for everything. So that's what I told Ryan when he came over today, because he does not live in the city. Mm-hmm. I was like, bring your own water. Yeah. And he's like, you don't have clean water? And I was like, no. He earlier was like, how do I wash my hands? And I have a bowl sitting on my kitchen counter.
Just soapy water.
That is soapy water just to wash your hands in.
Yeah.
So that was in reference to what we were talking about earlier.
I was talking to Jay earlier today, my boss. Mm-hmm. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Yeah, I don't want to dox myself. Who cares if I dox myself? I don't have anything to lose.
You were talking to your boss earlier.
I was talking to my boss earlier, and he was kind of telling me, because like he used to be be in the political sphere and everything, mm-hmm. and understands like ordinances and stuff like that. He kind of explained to me. You are under a boil water like crisis until there is 48 hours of clean water tests.
Yeah.
And you lost water Friday?
Yeah, Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little inconvenient. It's not the worst thing in the world. I can still shower. I just can't like drink while I'm in the shower.
Which I know it's just a crime.
It felt really like I showered this morning, and it felt really odd. Like
just actively not trying to get in your mouth and whatnot.
Like it wasn't like I was trying to send it in my thing. Like,
you don't do that. I do that every shower.
Sometimes
I don't do that every shower.
I mean, if I'm thirsty, like dude,
if you're thirsty,
it's right there.
Well, if you're thirsty, you know what you do with
the what?
Shower beer. Come on.
Mine would be shower wine.
No, it'd have to be canned wine.
Ew.
You don't like canned wine?
No. There's a place on the...
Oh, I forgot you're fancy now.
I'm not... Mm-hmm. I work with a lot of wine, okay? I drink a lot of wine. And I just have a palate for it now, unfortunately. Like, when I did, like, my tastings at work when I initially was, like, starting, I was like, this all tastes the same to me. It just tastes like wine. Yeah, and but now you... Yeah, it's really embarrassing, and I actually hate it. But it is my drink of choice now.
I hate you.
But What was my point there? Who's to say?
We were talking about drinking wine in the shower.
Yeah, shut up.
We were talking about drinking.
Yeah, canned wine.
Canned wine.
There's
Okay.
a place on the Beltline that is like really big, like outdoorsy area, and they only have canned wine there. And so I was like, oh, whatever, I'll get a can of wine.
Right.
I'm just hanging out with the girlies, no problem. And I took a sip of the canned wine, and I was like,
Blech.
absolutely not.
Blech.
It was criminal.
Yeah.
But you know, to each their own. If you drink canned wine, not a personal attack. It's just not for me.
I don't have a problem with canned wine. I'm not the biggest wine guy to begin with, and I'm sure they add a whole bunch of sugars in it to make it yummy. But I'm also the guy who will probably take the PBR any day of the week, which,
so
hey,
funny.
and I'll say right now, PBR is a good beer. PBR is the bar for beer. Jack?
He's
I don't know if
probably
he can
got his
hear.
headphones
He's
on.
probably got his headphones on. He'll agree with me.
That's why my
Yeah.
partner's here.
Yeah. Her partner.
My partner.
Ooh, her partner's here.
He's really your partner. You guys have been in love
I've
longer.
I've known him longer than you. Ha ha.
He.
Hee ha. Yeah.
That's how Ryan and I are besties. Is that I
yes.
know Ryan through my partner.
Yeah. Met Jack in college. Can I use his name? Her name's
Yeah,
okay?
it's fine. Jack's
okay.
fine.
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone wants to go find my
if
social
anybody's
media,
going to watch this, it's going to be people that we know.
exactly.
Right?
And it's also like if anyone wants to find me on social media, he's tagged and stuff. Anyway, he's also in
Yeah.
like a band. He's like a public figure.
Yeah, that was going to be my shout out for later. So
Yeah.
we'll save that.
Yeah.
He's a public figure. That's interesting.
I mean, like
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But like that's just a funny term. He's a public figure.
I'm on a Wikipedia page. So
Are you really?
Yeah.
For what?
Cowboys.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
I'm a public figure.
Yeah. Whitney makes music. I don't. I don't have the capacity for it. I'm sure I have the capacity
I'm
for
sure
it.
you could do it if you tried.
I told Jack I can't use that lingo. I can't say
You
that.
wanna make some
genre
beats?
I want to make some funny beeps and boops. That's all I
Yeah.
want to do. I feel like I can do it. I've been trying to learn scales recently. I've been trying to like pick out I say scales, like chords and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a guitar. Do I touch the guitar? No.
I mean, I have 3 of them that I don't touch, so I don't know
That's
how to
real.
play guitar. I just have 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how to play guitar.
I don't know how to play guitar. I'm being so serious with you. I know how to play piano and like synth by proxy and bass. I have a bass guitar
You know how to play bass,
and drums.
right?
Yeah. The bass is like a lightly, I know how to play bass. If
Okay.
I was like playing with other people, I could like figure it out. But like my best instrument is like keys and drums. I haven't played drums in years, so probably not anymore. But
Yeah.
that was what I started learning when I was like 16.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because my dad played drums, so I was like, I want to play drums. Yep.
This would be a good question, Whitney.
Okay.
What would you say is your like top some of your favorite books
Some of my favorite books?
outside of Sanderson? Outside of Sanderson.
Okay. I love The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
Okay.
I think V.E. Schwab wrote that one, if I remember correctly. I think that is a V.E. Schwab book. I read that one. It was like on Kindle Unlimited, totally on a whim. Ended up loving it. That was like one of my 5-star reads, like probably 2 years ago now. I do really like everything I've read by Dan Wells.
Yeah.
You've read the Serial Killer series.
Yeah.
I read partials. I'm looking at them right now, which is what made me think of it.
Did you not finish Serial Killer?
I'm only on book 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I need to get back into it. I really enjoy Patrick Rothfuss, who will never.
Oh yeah.
That was actually what I think I was incorrect when I spoke earlier, maybe in episode 0 of what got me back into high fantasy.
Yeah.
Because the first high fantasy book that I read when I got back into reading was The Wise Man's Fear.
You've told me
Yeah.
that before, that it was Patrick Rothfuss that like got
Yeah.
you into fantasy and whatnot, but I didn't want to correct you. Because I mean.
Yeah, I forgot until we just started talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like those 2 books The Name of the Wind is the first one. The Wise Man's Fear is the second one. Those two books I adore. Like that's really what did get me back into fantasy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Name of the Wind and Wise Man's Fear, those are two of my favorites. I'm trying to think what else I've read. I said I had a 5-star read recently. What was it? Oh, Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng.
Oh yeah, I saw that in our local bookstore yesterday.
That book is incredible.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed that book. I've been really into like literary fiction recently.
Yeah.
That's like, I've been on a big kick this year of literary fiction. I've like tried to read some fantasy this year and I'm not really, I don't know if maybe I just like read way too much Sanderson last year. Because like before Dragonsteel.
And we're doing it all again.
I know, but like before Dragonsteel last year, we like crammed.
Yeah.
Like essentially crammed everything that man has written. Like before Con last year, I think in like a 2-week period, I read the second Secret History. Sorry. I was thinking about, I also love Donna Tartt. I love The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. That's one of my favorite books.
Okay.
I was thinking about that. I read the second Secret Project, the wizard one. I can't think of the full name.
You read like all the Secret Projects.
Yeah, well, I read Tress when it came out, and then I owned the wizard. I can't think of what that book is called.
The Frugal Wizard's Guide to Medieval England.
Yes. So I read Frugal Wizard, I read Yumi, and I read Sunlit Man. Sunlit Man, I remember like reading in the airport, like on our way to Dragonsteel, because that was the last thing that I had to read. And I read like Warbreaker, I read Elantris, and we had reread the entire Stormlight Archives before that. So like, I think I maybe like out fantasied myself.
Yeah.
And so I've been on like apocalypse stuff. I've been on literary fiction. I've been on like, I'm always on true crime. I like true crime and like not true crime, thrillers, I should say.
Yeah.
And like, I guess like supernatural horror. Yeah, I don't think I've read a single fantasy book this year. I'm like trying to.
That's crazy.
I'm reading that Brian McClellan book right now, but I've had a really hard time getting through it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the book or if it's me. Because I'm reading every other book totally fine, and so I'm concerned it's the book, but I want to like it so bad. I'm like 200 pages into it.
You know, like, okay, so like in our episode 0, we talked about like this, it starts off like typical fantasy book and whatnot. Like, for some reason, that book, I was like, yep, here's the words I don't know, and what does this mean? What's happening? Oh, we're jumping right into it and everything.
Yeah.
It just turned me off so much, and I don't know why.
I still am really into the concept. Like, I really like it, but I think I'm still struggling with some of the concepts.
Okay.
And I'm still, like I said, I'm like 200 pages into the book, but I'm still like struggling with the concepts, and I feel like at that point I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's why I haven't picked it back up.
Right.
One more author, because I see the book up on my bookshelf, Kristen Hanna. Because I love historical fiction. Oh,
okay.
She writes great historical fiction, in my opinion. Yeah, she had a book come out this year. Yeah, it was this year, called The Women, and it was about women in the Vietnam War.
Oh, okay.
And that book tore me apart. I cried. I cried a lot. But I love historical fiction. It's like one of my favorite genres. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, what are some of your favorite authors, books, genres? I think I answered your question, but I went like 6 different directions.
No, you're good. So, in a similar vein to Patrick Rothfuss, I've never read anything of his and everything, but
I'm gonna get you to read Name of the Wind at least.
I'm going to. It's on the list. It's on the list. I'm going to get there eventually.
But you know, everybody's TBR list is like 300 books.
I mean, yeah. Do you know how many like books I say I'm going to read, and then like, oh, I'm actually going to read this instead, or oh no, I'm just gonna hop back and forth between a million. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm not really reading anything. No. That's a lie.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask what you were reading right now, because I have one that I'm reading right now.
Let me finish this thought.
Yeah, finish your thought, and then we'll go to that question.
Yeah. So, some of my favorite authors outside of like Sanderson and everything, I really like Scott Lynch. I love the Gentleman Bastard series.
You've recommended that one to me.
That's another one. It's also never going to be completed because...
Oh, so now I don't want to read it.
Dude, but
it's worth it.
So the first one, honestly, can act as like a standalone. The Lies of Locke Lamora. I love that book. That is probably in my top 5 books.
Yeah, you've recommended that.
If not top 3. Like, that is a awesome book. You looking at Nova?
I was looking at the books on my shelf
Oh.
to see if there was anything else I remembered.
It's a great book. I love it so much. There's 3 of them. The Thorn of Emberlane, I think, is what the 4th book is going to be called. And it's just never going to come out. It's people have been waiting for years and everything. And I'm a more recent fan. I read all his stuff last year, the year before. I think it was last year.
Yeah, I think Patrick Rothfuss is on year 10 now.
That's exactly where we're at.
Yeah.
With Scott Lynch. So love him. One of my favorite books is still Babel.
Babel is a fantastic
I think about Babel
book.
Every day. I think about Babel every day.
I want to read some more of her books.
And that's the bad thing. I have not read any more of her books.
Yeah.
And it's just that's completely on me. Brittany, not Whitney, Brittany.
Yes.
Me and her were out together yesterday, and we walked into a little local bookshop and everything. Shout out Underground Books. And we were just walking around, and there was a copy of the Poppy Wars, and it was discounted because it was used. It was for $8, and she picked it up. So
good.
Yeah. So but
guess we'll find out if it's good.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. I trust her opinion.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I really like that one. I'm trying to think. You know me, I'm a big Warhammer guy.
Yeah.
That's literally if I just want to sit down and read some fun, it's going to be a Warhammer novel. But yeah, I also been on a big sci-fi kick recently. I read, it's been a few months, but Children of Time.
Yeah, Children of Time was good. That was one that I read on your recommendation.
Children of Time. I got to read the other ones though. I know but it's another one that I feel it acts as a standalone.
Yeah, because that's what, I was at Barnes & Noble recently, because one of the doctors I go to is right by a Barnes & Noble. Yeah. And so after I go to the doctor, I'm oh, a little treat. And so I go into Barnes & Noble, and that last time I was there, I saw Children of Time, and it was lined up with all the other ones, and I was maybe I'll pick up the second one. And then I was I don't think I need to, actually. I guess if I really get on another big sci-fi kick, I will maybe go do that.
Yeah.
But I felt, that book felt like a standalone to me.
Yeah. Going back to Children of Time and Warhammer, Adrian Tchaikovsky, the author of Children of Time, also wrote a fantastic Warhammer novel.
Is that how you know about him?
Yes, that's how I first learned about him. He wrote Day of Ascension.
That's funny. Which
that is about, I'm going to say some words to you, and it's not going to mean anything. It's probably not going to mean anything to anybody listening or watching right now, except for maybe a few. Actually, we're probably, if anybody is listening, they're big old nerds.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take that right back.
Yeah, crossover.
To you, I know this doesn't mean anything. Yeah. It's about the Gene Stealer cults and the Adeptus Mechanicus, and it's awesome. It's so good. I love it. I just kind of ooh, I almost said a bad word. I'm just going to put those down. My dogs are barking.
Dogs are barking.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, that's how I know about him, and that's how I found Children of Time, is literally through Warhammer 40,000.
Interesting.
Books. What I'm reading right now, I'll go ahead and answer you this. I'm on the 2nd book of The Expanse.
Oh, yeah, I haven't read that series yet either.
The first one was good.
Okay.
I went into it knowing it was a space opera, and that it was some political stuff between Earth, the Belt, Mars.
Isn't Tom reading that, or he talked about reading it?
I think so.
Okay. Shout out Tom Riffs.
Shout out Tom Riffs. I met you one time, but you were a cool guy.
Yeah, he used to play in a band called Vatican.
Apparently he's been in 50 bands.
Oh yeah, he's been in so many bands.
Yeah.
Shout out Tom. But yeah, he's playing Vatican. Now he plays for the band Vane FM. So shouts out. Love him.
Yeah.
One of my favorite homies.
he might have been reading that or something.
I think we talked when we were at the Fleshwater show. Yeah. I think we were talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm on the 2nd book in that series, Caliban's War. And so far I'm liking it. I'm still pretty early on into it and whatnot. One thing that I do I like political stuff in my books and everything. That's kind of that's why Well of Ascension is my favorite Mistborn novel, just because I love like the power vacuum and like everybody's fighting for power and they're all these different factions and everything. And I kind of wish there was more than that in the series so far. And I'm hoping like that'll just get more.
Yeah.
And everything. But the first book was good. It was just more of like a romp.
Yeah.
A romp through space.
A romp through space.
Yeah, with some nasty body horror. If you like that.
Oh.
Do you like body horror?
Not particularly.
Really?
I'm more of like a psychological horror person.
Oh.
I can like deal with gore, but I'm not like... I like to look away from the screen when it's happening. It doesn't bother me in a book though as much. Like when I'm reading about it, I'm like, ew. But like if I see it on a screen, I'm like, ugh. Like I'll like actually cringe away from it.
Dude, The Thing. You ever seen The Thing?
No.
You've only seen like 2 movies.
Yeah, I've seen 2 movies: The Brave Little Toaster and Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
It would be that one.
Those are the 2 movies I've seen. Brave Little Toaster and Titan.
Titan.
Those are 2 movies I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've still never seen that one. Is there body horror in that?
That is all body horror.
Yeah, I thought so. I still haven't seen it. Yeah.
That was what Jack and I watched on our first date.
I got some questions to ask Jack. Like, what is he doing?
It wasn't okay. It technically wasn't our first date, but it was the first time that we hung out just like one-on-one. And he was like, "Why don't you come over? I'll cook you dinner. We can watch a movie." And I said, "Okay, this guy's gonna cook me dinner, sure." And I go over and he's like, "Yeah, this like German movie called Titan. It's a horror movie, and we both like love horror." So I was like, "Yeah, I'm down with that. I'll watch a horror movie." Yeah, feel free to ask him questions after this. I started a new manga. I'm reading Delicious in Dungeon.
Yeah! Yes! Go on.
So I started that. I'm not very far into it.
Uh-huh.
And then I am reading, as far as a novel, I am reading like the quintessential gothic romance book. It's like a classic, it's like classic gothic literature, but it is like has romance in it. It's called Rebecca.
Oh yeah.
Yes, but it's like one of the classic. Like I'm trying to read more gothic literature this year, and that was one where I felt like it was quintessential. And when I was at Barnes and Noble, I saw it and I was like, okay, time to pick this up. So I started that. I'm like 50 pages into it, and I saw this like it was like a tweet or a TikTok or something the other day where someone was like, like when you've been reading like all the popular books, like shit.
It's okay. You can let one slip every now.
Sorry, everybody.
We're trying to keep it. We're trying to keep the language down.
PG-13.
A lot of people don't like it. We know that.
So like you've been reading books that are popular. You've read ACOTAR. You read Fourth Wing.
Mm-hmm.
You're just.
Bleh.
I still haven't read it. It's on my.
Here, I'll say it. I don't like Fourth Wing.
You're allowed. But you've just been reading what's popular.
Yeah.
You've been reading Sanderson, and then you go back and like you're reading a book that's written like Pride and Prejudice, and it's like
which might be one of my favorite books.
Oh, I love Pride and Prejudice.
I love Pride and Prejudice.
But that's what like sitting down and reading Rebecca. I've like my brain. I have to like use it more when I'm reading because it's like. And that book is not as bad. This one was published like I think in the 30s or 40s. Mm-hmm. So it's not nearly as bad on the language as like a Jane Austen novel is.
Yeah.
But it's still not written in an easy, consumable way.
Right.
So I have to like sit there and like think about it. But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. But yeah.
You know what manga I just read?
Good Night Poon Poon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of stepped back from manga after that one just because I was like, because that actually helped me. I started reading that just because like books were not booking. I could not do books.
I get it.
But now I'm back reading. I'm back reading, and everything. But yeah, read that. That was amazing. If you want to feel really bad,
if you want to cry, read Good Night Poon Poon.
I did not cry. I will say when I finished Good Night Poon Poon, I felt numb.
Ugh.
I felt numb. Like my emotions had been so spent. Like I finished it. It was probably like 9:30 at night, and I was just like,
"Okay, I have to go to bed right now."
I literally just sat there and just thought.
Yeah.
I said, want to go to bed. It's a beautiful story, though.
Yeah. Have you watched any anime recently?
Dungeon Meshi.
Yeah, so
I've been watching Dungeon Meshi.
I don't have Netflix. That's why I started reading the manga.
I actually I tried reading the manga. I like the anime more than the manga, which is like a little surprising, I know. And I'm sure that some people will take that offensively.
I mean, whatever. You're allowed to have your own opinion. I watched Solo Leveling in like 2 days.
Okay.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I also watched My Dress Up Darling in like 2 days. Because I was like after I watched Solo Leveling, and it was the same thing as where I am with the books, where I'm like, that was too much fantasy for me. Like, I think I need to step out of fantasy, and then I'm reading or Delicious in Dungeon, so it's like whatever.
Yeah.
It's
a different flavor.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm just gonna watch like a slice of life, and I was just like scrolling through Crunchyroll and was seeing like what was popular, and I saw My Dress Up Darling, and it was rated like 4.9 stars. Yeah. And so I was like, okay.
I just was not expecting you to say that series.
Yeah, I watched it, and it was very cute and very wholesome. It was a very good slice of life, and it made me actually want to try to start sewing my own cosplays.
Yeah, you should.
Still haven't.
It's sitting right there.
I know, I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I have 2 of them. Because I have that one from Dimitri that I bought.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got one for Christmas.
I think this will be our last topic before we call it, but we are both going to Dragonsteel.
Yay! Dragonsteel Nexus.
Dragonsteel Nexus.
2024.
2024.
Ryan got VIP.
I got VIP.
I did not.
She did not.
Oh, pull up the tweet.
What? Oh, yeah.
Right before we took a pause right in the middle because my partner got home from work, and we both needed to, drink some water, go to the bathroom, recuperate. And Brandon Sanderson, while we were on break, tweeted,
I'm trying to pull it up,
that Stormlight 5 is finished as of our recording right now.
I'll let you read it.
Fantastic.
There you go.
He tweeted out and he said, "Finished the last interlude today at 5:21. That is a wrap. Wind and Truth, Book 5 of the Stormlight Archive, is finished. Tomorrow morning, I'll hand it off to the proofreading and copy editing team. 491,000 words. The first file I have in my folder for this was dated March 2021, though active writing started about a year after that. So 2 years and a few months spent working on this full time, with another year of working on the outline. Feeling great about this final version. See you all December 6th. The book finally is done." And then Dragonsteel, the company responded and said 186 days. So that's how long we have to read the rest of this.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I'm not a math guy. I think we have
we'll be fine.
Yeah, we have plenty of time. Like, we have a few weeks in between where if we need to take a break or anything,
we're going to try to bang out the series.
Yeah. We'll probably backlog a couple episodes here and there. It'll be good. What are you most excited for Dragonsteel so far, Whit?
Oh man. I think I'm really excited to see all our friends again. Yeah. Like everyone that we met last year. Like we met so many cool people and just nice, kind people. We are in a Discord with all of them pretty much. Yeah. And thankfully, I'm sure some of you who are listening are also going to Dragonsteel or know the debacle that happened when tickets went on sale. Yeah. And thankfully everyone that we know, in our little friend group, was able to get tickets. So very, very thankful for that. But yeah, I think I'm just really excited to see everybody again. Yeah. A gentleman that we met last year described it perfectly, where we were out one night, before the convention, got food with a couple people and just hung out. And he said he had described it to a friend as when you talk to people that don't read Sanderson, it feels like you're speaking a foreign language to them. But then when you come to Dragonsteel, it feels like it's finally everyone is speaking the same language, and everyone knows what you're talking about, and your jokes land, they make sense. And that's just, I'm excited to be in that again. It's definitely what I look forward to. I think I might be cosplaying this year, not the one you're thinking of, not the Mistborn one.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
But I think I'm going to do a Stormlight one. I'm going to cosplay my favorite girl. Yasna.
Really? Yeah. This is the first I'm hearing about this.
I made this decision 2 days ago.
Oh, okay.
Because I was reading the description of what she looked like, and I was like, that kind of looks like me. I could do that.
Yeah, you're Asian.
No.
Yeah, I know.
But she has like black curly hair.
Yeah, no, it's a good fit.
And it was really the black curly hair. I said I could do that.
I could do that. Why? Yeah. I mean, like, why do you think like I want to do Adolin at one point?
Yeah.
He's blonde. Well, he's got like blonde and black hair.
Yeah.
He's a blonde boy. Shout out our blonde boys.
Shout out.
Blonde boys doing what blonde boys do.
But yeah, a cosplay that Ryan and I have spoken about a couple times.
I need you to do it.
I love Hatsune Miku. Something about me. I love Hatsune Miku. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember where it initially started, but we came up with a joke of doing Mistborn Miku.
Please.
Which essentially would just be Hatsune Miku, but with a mist cloak. So
it's that easy.
I might consider it.
Mistborn Miku? Are you kidding me?
I do want to do at least one day of cosplay at Dragonsteel this year, though.
Yeah. The only like issue would be like getting it there.
Yeah, but I feel like I would just do like her purple like gown with like the safe hand sleeve.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would just be a dress.
Oh, so you're not going to make a shard blade?
A what?
A shard blade?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
They like, realistically, there's no way
you can carry it on the plane.
Yeah, there's no way I could get that from Atlanta to Salt Lake City. There's just no physical way. Unless I drove.
You can like ship it to Cortland.
I could ship it to a friend that lives out there, but that seems excessive.
Yeah. Also, how do you even... I could do it. I could do it. Yeah. What are you most excited for Dragonsteel? Honestly, seeing all the people that we met last year and everything.
Yeah.
I just like... I'll say it. We talked a lot about it. Mm-hmm. This was me and you and I's.
Yeah.
Mine and Whitney's. First time being out west. Like we are both from Georgia and everything.
East Coast.
It's different.
Yeah.
In the coolest way.
Yeah, we did get to see the Salt Flats last year.
Awesome.
I have a friend that lives out in Salt Lake City, and he was gracious enough to drive us out there to see him, and it was otherworldly.
It truly, that's the only way to describe it. It was otherworldly.
Yeah.
And just like the West in general, it's like a completely different climate. I mean, like our first day out there, we drove up a mountain and everything, and like the peak was like right there and everything. And we were just like, oh, that's like, how much? It was like maybe 200 feet.
I don't know. We didn't,
know.
We
it
didn't
was not
walk
that much.
Far, but we
got like maybe halfway.
The difference in the altitude compared to here, like we're pretty close to sea level, especially like near Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so being out there like on the mountains, like we got like halfway up this like little peak hill we were walking on, out of breath. Like we could not. The altitude was insane.
Dog, I get it. I'm not like the most in shape guy. I'm not in shape at all.
But there was no way I should have been that exhausted.
Way. Oh, yeah. Just excited to be out in the area, see the people. I
want to eat more while we're there.
Yeah.
Like I want to like try more restaurants. Like I didn't really particularly like any of the places that we went last year.
No.
But I want to like
that one place where like we met. And like it was like a tapas place.
That place, I don't think I liked a single thing I ate there.
They had a good drink. I had a good drink there.
Yeah.
But also like I was there to eat. I wasn't there to drink.
Yeah. If anyone is going to Dragonsteel and you do consume alcohol, even if you don't consume alcohol, but you are over the age of 21, there is an arcade bar called Quarters that we went to several times.
It's a good vibe.
Yeah, because it's like a bunch of old pinball machines, a bunch of old like game machines and things like that. There's also like a venue in there where they have live music. So it was really cool. That was like probably my favorite place that we went. There's like a whole block that does, if you are someone who drinks, and if you don't, there's so much else to do in the city. So don't, think that it's, and I mean, the Salt Lake City definitely is not a city for alcohol.
It's not a party
for drinking.
It's not a party.
Yeah.
Like I'll say this. I was out meeting another friend of ours who was flying in a day or two after us and everything. And so I went with a few people out because I was like, well, I have to stay up anyway and wait for her flight to get in, which got in at past midnight.
I don't remember. I think I went back to the hotel. I think I was out cold when this was happening.
I had a few vodka Red Bulls to keep myself awake, keep myself feeling good. socialize. She texted me, hey, I'm in. And I was like, all right, cool. Let me go get you your ticket and everything.
Because we picked up her ticket for her.
I picked up her ticket, and I was like, I need to get this to you. And also,
because it was the day before,
she was going to stand in the line for the signed copy.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, I'm going to walk you to the line and everything. Like, you just got here and whatnot. I'm up anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm out at like 1, 2 a.m.
There's like nobody on the streets that late in Salt Lake City.
There's nobody out.
And it's crazy, like, when you come from a city like Atlanta, because, like, I mean, it is standard living in this city that you are probably within a mile of an adult entertainment club. There are 2 within a mile of my apartment.
Oh, yeah.
And people are out until, like, 4, 5 a.m. Like, they're
about it.
Yeah, it's insane in the city. So then, like, going to Salt Lake, like, where we were walking, we were somewhere, and we were walking back to our hotel at like 1, 2 in the morning, and it was just like
it's dead. There's
deserted.
Nothing. And now it's very nice. It's a very brightly lit up city.
Oh, yeah, I didn't ever feel like threatened.
No,
by any means.
I felt very safe.
Yeah.
And it's a very if anybody listening that is going to Dragonsteel who has never been to Salt Lake City before, it's such
walkable.
a walkable city because it's so smart. It's a grid. Everything's a grid.
Yeah.
You're never going to get lost. Unless you're us, and we did get lost at one point.
Did we?
But yes, we did. At one point, we were just like, oh, we need to go this way. And then we were like, look at the phone. I was like, no, we need to go that way. Anyway, yes. It's so walkable. It's so easy. We're staying at a hotel that's like 15-minute walk away.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. It literally was like we turned up one street, walked straight, and then turned, and then, wow, you're at the convention.
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah.
You're allowed to get your pass like a day early, correct?
Definitely recommend doing it.
Do that.
Yeah, because that's what we did. I mean, we saw the line day of when we were there, and it looked crazy. But
and
like
it sold out.
Yeah.
It wasn't sold out last year.
Yeah, and that's so when we went to go pick it up early last year, I mean, we were in and out of there in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you were allowed to pick up our friends too.
Yeah.
So like if you maybe have friends that are flying in, you can pick them up for them. You know, at least that's how they did it last year. I don't know if maybe they will continue that this year or whatever the case may be. But
yeah,
I digress.
Also, shout out the volunteers and staff for Dragonsteel. I have been going to conventions since I was like 12 years old. I probably have not met nicer staff / volunteers.
Yeah.
At a convention. They actually care. And they're very nice, and they were very receptive to trying to help people. I went in there fully expecting, not like to kind of go through like a hassle of getting my friend's ticket, because I've done that before where I've always had to show like an ID. They trusted me. I literally said like, hey, I'm here to pick up so-and-so's. And they're like, okay, we got it. And like, you kind of have to worry and everything. But I literally had like her ID ready to go and whatnot. Like, and I was like, I think I literally showed it to them. And so, but yeah, like literally no trouble at all. Every question that we kind of asked, like we asked about a coat check. They did not have a coat check, but they said, you should maybe recommend that.
Yeah.
Actually.
And that's, I think, whenever they sent out like survey emails, that was like one thing where I was like, please. Especially this year, it's going to be in December. So I imagine it's going to be probably a little bit chillier than last year. So hopefully that'll be something they offer. Because especially like if you're in cosplay, I don't want to carry around a huge coat all day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that ruins the vibe of what I've got going on.
The vibe. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure we'll talk more about Dragonsteel as it gets closer and everything, but I think we should close it out.
Yeah.
I'll say this again. If you have any recommendations, any notes, what should we change? What do you like? Don't call us ugly or that you hate our voices. We can't control that. But yeah, if you like this format, let us know. If you don't, tell us what we can do better. Yeah. Anyways, we're at like almost 3 hours.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we were going to get food after this. Wait, I think I'm just going to go home.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you
next time for part 2 of The Way of Kings.
Listenercast.
Yep.
Did you hit record?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Nova.
Nova.
Sorry, Ryan. She took your spot.
Well,
Is it all of the sudden or all of the sudden?
All of the sudden. I don't think it matters. No! No! Surprise, this is an Evo podcast. That would be terrible. We're already pretty, like, unbearable.
Yeah.